Hello, everyone. I'm Professor Geek. Welcome back to the channel, and welcome to another episode of Office Hours. We are here with a few topics to talk about. I guess maybe they'll be interesting. We'll see. And with me, as always, my trusty TA, Big Al. Say hi, Al.
Hi, Al.
And guest lecturer, the wonderful Klingon cleric himself, Mr. Troy Pacelli. Welcome, Troy. Or sorry, Troy Rannis. Darth Troy Rannis. I like
Troy
that.
Rannis.
I like that.
Thank you.
You got a good Sith look there with the Klingon goatee.
It kind of works with the Klingon. Yeah.
The Klingon would make a wicked Sith. That would
I will have to share with you. I have a picture of my character in Star Trek Online with a glowing red butler.
Nice.
Seriously.
I like that. That's a better thumbnail for you. I'll look at the
I gotta say, you complained about me being so small, so
we were saying Al's other
Don't get a big head.
Yeah. Al's other avatar looked like Little Al instead of Big Al. So but welcome to the chat as well. I believe Dark Stranger was the first that I saw anyway. So that's what we'll call it. See who else is popping in here. I saw Chris P around, Owen Lister, Melissa Harris, Auditor Dread, Sertorian Clegane, Nanette Pacelli. Hi, Nanette.
Nanette.
For Revenge of the Sith, absolutely. There we go.
Revenge of the Fifth.
The Fifth. I'm sorry, the Fifth.
God,
Sound engraver.
it's a number, and it just throws you off.
I know, right? The number. Sean Shaw, Brian Gilmartin, Alec Purdue. All right, we got everybody welcome. Casey Scott. So more people pouring in. Thank you. Great to have you here. So yeah, how's your guys' day?
It was a day.
It
was a day.
It was a pretty impacting day. We had a friend stop by, my friend Patrick and his daughter Mariah stopped by just to drop off a care package. They brought us some groceries and they brought us tacos and horchata for Cinco de Mayo.
That's awesome.
Well, she works for Chick-fil-A and they've got a program where they're letting them spend some money at the grocery store to bring money to people that have lost their jobs because of the situation.
Yeah.
Which is exactly where we're at. And it was
there's a situation.
Pretty damn often. Awesome.
Yeah. That's cool.
Exactly.
That's really cool.
So happy Cinco de Mayo.
Happy
This
Cinco de Mayo.
horchata has become a rum chata. If I start slurring my words as the stream goes, you know why.
I got you. Well, the stream will probably go about how it usually does. I'm going to say some stuff, then I'm going to drop some truth bombs, and then Troy will say, well, it's not that bad. And then Al will say, I'm so glad I'm not you and have to look at the world the way you do.
Well, that's our show tonight, folks. Thanks for joining us.
Everyone sums it up. You don't need to listen to anything else. We're done tonight. Revenge of the Sith.
Oh, we have fun. So let's see what but we do have some news. There have been some developments and things coming up about Disney with Star Wars May the 4th and everything like that. So we'll get to those in more specificity, and Troy's kept up with those stories, so he'll talk to us about those more a little bit. But
I just wanted a quick shout out. I'm sorry, but I just met Patrick and he's in the stream. Hi, Patrick. Thank you so much. Dinner was awesome. The horchata is going down really smooth. And I already dug into those refried beans. So Nanette might not be with us anymore.
Thank you for taking care of our friend there, Patrick. What's that?
Feeling none of us would be here. If I have a feeling his would be so bad, none of us would be here.
Thank goodness for the magic of telecommunication.
Hundreds of miles away.
Smell-o-vision is not a thing yet.
It's a good thing I don't smoke. Otherwise, boom.
Wow. Boy, we thought Al was going to get it weird, but Troy busted right out the gate with the fart jokes. Oh, man. Okay.
This stream is not for children. Your discretion is advised.
We don't get too bad. We're a bunch of guys, though. Guys are going to be guys.
Gosh, yeah, right.
Well, let me open by talking about Clone Wars, and this is something that Troy, what are you up to on Clone Wars, Troy?
I'm sorry, I missed that because Nanette was saying something to me.
That's okay. What are you up to on Clone Wars now as you're watching through?
We've just gotten a good way into season 4. We've seen the episodes where the younglings have done the gathering, which I thought was going to go into like removing heads or something like that to get the quickening. But it turned out not to be that kind of gathering.
Yeah.
And they got their it's interesting. I want to say that they got Kyber crystals, but they didn't refer to them specifically as Kyber crystals. So I'm guessing that wasn't something that came into the lore just yet.
Kyber crystals is something Disney kind of added, isn't it?
The idea of these special crystals that were used in the lightsaber go all the way back through, to actually, I'd say back to Splinter of the Mind's Eye.
But Disney added something.
But the naming
of the Mind's Eye was kind of where kind of the impetus kind of was made.
But because I think the naming of Kyber crystals actually comes from Disney, and I don't think that anyone had a huge problem with that.
Well, and on the Knights of the Old Republic and the Old Republic game and stuff like that, you have to make your lightsaber, and you can obtain different crystals, for different attributes and stuff like that. And Kyber isn't, if I'm remembering the right name, some of the names kind of blend together in my mind.
Now, the really crummy thing, and I pointed this out to Nanette, was as we were watching that episode, I said, okay, this planet that they're on, and they named it in the episode, and I don't remember it off the top of my head. I said, here's the crummy thing. I said, this is one of those things that Disney ruined, because remember that big Star Killer base? That was this planet. That's the new Disney canon. So no more Kyber crystals ever again.
So Clone Wars, I finished it up. Got through all of season 7. And season 7's a mess. I'll explain that. That's going to piss people off just hearing someone dare speak that. But it's a mess. It's got some good stuff in it, but it's a mess. In terms of a writing perspective. But Clone Wars in general, this is something that I'm seeing. Let me see. Where's the one I want to show? All of a sudden, everybody cares about Clone Wars. All of a sudden, Disney and all of their shill media that they keep on a leash, all of a sudden, everybody's very interested in Clone Wars and wants to talk it up and wants to, pretend that it's sharing my screen here. Wants to pretend that it's something that all of a sudden now can be talked about and pushed. Well, nope, that's not that. That's not the one. Share the other one. Can't talk and do something at the same time.
I've been there.
So all of a sudden, Clone Wars.
You're going to be there later, probably.
And it's because all of a sudden Clone Wars is walking lockstep with Disney's agendas. I'll get to that in a second. But let's just talk about Clone Wars in general as a series it was, because it was a great series. It was a great series. I recommend people check it out. Troy's enjoying it. Not a perfect series. Has its problems. Absolutely has its problems. Here's the thing about Clone Wars, though. Clone Wars was never... Well, a bunch of things. First of all, for this article, no, Clone Wars, you don't need Clone Wars to redeem the prequel trilogy. That's nonsense. The prequel trilogy is what it is. Clone Wars is there to give us a better accounting of this momentous event in the Star Wars history that's supposed to be the Clone Wars. I mean, it's always talked about this big, it has to be more than just the little blank space between episode 2 and 3, So, we needed some fleshing out of it, so we get that with the series, and that's great. The Clone Wars, the series, is not a vehicle for Ahsoka Tano. She's not the star of Clone Wars. No one's really the one single star of Clone Wars. It is an ensemble cast, but for the most part, with fleshing out this era of the Clone Wars, I think it's also safe to say that its most prominent job is to show more of a progression of Anakin. Show us him as a successful Jedi Knight, because we go from Padawan in episode 2 to boom, successful knight about to be turned in episode 3. So show us more of his progression, and it does that wonderfully to an extent.
I would even say that anything that you could say about any argument you could make in favor of it being about Ahsoka Tano, you could absolutely say, look, anything that you say about Ahsoka is indirectly about Anakin. She is there. I said it right from the beginning, how I didn't like her from the beginning, but oh my gosh, what a perfect Padawan for Anakin. He pretty much deserved it. Yeah. Everything I heard coming out of her mouth and all of her attitude, is the same kind of attitude you'd see in Anakin. And you know for sure that was Obi-Wan's plan. He's like, okay, kid, I'm going to teach you something.
Yeah.
You take on a Padawan who's just like you and see what I've gone through. Every parent who has ever said, you'll understand when you're in my situation and you have children.
Exactly.
Knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Exactly.
So, yeah, fine. Say it's about Ahsoka. I will say Ahsoka herself is about Anakin.
That's the thing. So Ahsoka is there to show us Anakin's progression, to show, because in that first movie when she's introduced, Obi-Wan says, he's ready for this. He's ready for a Padawan, and Yoda says yes, but is he ready to let her go? So that sets up their relationship together. That was going to be part of his progression. Okay, but people are trying to rewrite history now and pretend that Clone Wars was really just all about Ahsoka. She's so amazing. This is their favorite thing to say. We've seen her grow and develop into such an amazing character from this point to this point to this. You haven't seen, and I'm going to prove this in a second, you haven't seen her grow and develop into anything, because Dave Filoni, for all of his great strengths as a writer, he's not very good at all at showing a character grow and develop. Think about it. You have Ahsoka Tano in the first season, bratty, doesn't listen or whatever. You're right. That the kind of Padawan that Anakin deserves. Suddenly, somewhere in like season 3, it jumps. Suddenly, out of nowhere, she's taller. She's got a different costume on. Anakin makes a comment like, "Oh, when did you grow up?" Yeah, when did you? Because you didn't show us any of that.
Yeah.
But it's not even consistent, because even then, within that era where she's supposedly grown up a little bit more, she still pulls some of her bratty little stuff, as before, and I'll cover some of that specifically. Now with season 6, so she leaves the Jedi Order, and it's never really well developed. You can imagine her leaving after what she faces there, but they never really she leaves. And okay, she walks out. That makes sense. But surely they'll come back to this. Surely they'll give us some more of her reasoning, some more of her thinking, some more of her actually questioning are the Jedi worth it, and this and that. We don't get any of that. We get one little story in the Trace Rafa silly arc in season 7 about how the Jedi kind of ruined their home or something like that. That's it. And suddenly in the last 2 episodes of season 7, it's just laughable. Suddenly Ahsoka is like Galadriel from Lord of the Rings. She's just like walking around all of a sudden with this like quiet grace. In the last episode, when Rex is there, mourning for his brother, she takes off his helmet and tells him he's a good soldier, but we're not going to. It's like she's the Virgin Mary giving her her blessing or something like that. It's utterly ridiculous. He doesn't show us the growth in any of these things, because here's what growth would look like. Okay, in season 1. Remember when Ahsoka takes her first she leads her first, whatever they're called, of fighter pilots on this mission. And they're telling her, oh, you've got to pull out at this point. It's a trap or whatever. You can't do that. And she's basically telling them, no, you're overreacting, Admiral. It's fine. I'm going to do this and that. And she ends up getting most of her squad killed. Now that's good. She comes back. She feels bad. That's good. She should feel bad. She's a snotty little disobedient. She needs to be taught a lesson here. Anakin comes over to her, and instead of really kind of raking her over the coals, just kind of tells her, well, I've been there and blah, blah, blah. Okay, maybe Anakin would do that. But the end of that episode doesn't show her learning to step back and kind of listen to rules. The end of that episode has her learning that she has to be assertive and has to take the charge, because Anakin lets her lead the second assault. And then she has to say, no, we're doing it my way. It's the only way. It will work. What did she learn from that? She learned that even when you screw up, you still have to go back and do the same thing anyway and assert yourself, because you're amazing. All right. The next time she does the same thing on the ground, when she doesn't pull back and doesn't retreat when they say that she's about to be overrun, and she won't listen to them. They have to come forcibly get her and put her in the ship and take her away. Oh, they're going to teach her a lesson now. And the Jedi Council, Yoda, puts her in the library. And now that's where you stay, young Padawan, till you learn. Oh, she's going to learn her lesson. But luckily, she was in the library, because it was up to her then to thwart Cad Bane's invasion of the temple there and everything like that. Luckily, she was there. She's so amazing. Now she gets to go off on another mission. You don't show her learning from her mistakes. And the fact that even when you just decided, okay, well, I don't want to bother writing her growing and writing her becoming an adult, so I'm just going to jump and show her suddenly older and show her an adult now, you still have her pulling that crap that Sound Engraver was talking about last night on the Citadel mission. Well, I want to go, and he says I can't. Well, I'm just going to go. I'm just going to go. And the show rewards her for that decision. It makes her do things that only she could do on that mission. And she gets back, and Plo Koon is like, yes, apparently I did tell her to go. And oh, she's amazing. The Force tells her what things to do, and she's just so much better than everybody. we don't see her progress or grow into anything. People have just latched onto her for whatever reason, because she's waifu or because she's a good symbol for their beliefs or whatever. That's all we're seeing from her. We don't really see now. Even that being so, up to season 7 was not the end of the world. Clone Wars is still solid. Clone Wars has still got a lot of amazing stuff in it, despite Filoni's failure to show some real growth. Go ahead, Al.
I'm sorry to go a little off topic. Could you check your messenger?
My messenger.
Oh.
Yes.
Well,
oh, whoa, Fan Man wants to pop in.
Oh, hey.
Alrighty. Well, I was on a good flow and we were moving along, so it's about time for Fan Man to bust right in and take it over, do what he wants to do with my show.
Well, yeah. Real quick though, before he does, Yodius Lee is asking Professor, does Alyssa like Ahsoka Tano?
Alyssa's not really watching Star Wars Clone Wars with me. She's watched it a little bit. She likes Yoda. She likes Luke. She hadn't gotten huge into Star Wars yet because of her development and stuff like that. We'll get her there one day. So
yeah. I know Nanette is really struggling with exactly what you were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
She was kind of pissed in that whole, like we were talking about on Soundgraver's stream, the whole thing about Ahsoka not getting any kind of rebuke,
mm-hmm.
And what's his name? Was it Plo Koon?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
who just stands up for it. It's like, really?
Yeah.
Really, Master?
Mm-hmm.
And there have been times where she screwed up and it was clearly meant to be a humbling moment.
Mm-hmm.
She was taking it hard and they're all like, oh, no, that's okay. It happens to all of us.
Yeah.
No,
mm-hmm.
no. You use that for teaching. Those people died because you didn't listen and you didn't follow orders and it was all on your head. And now you have to live with it. It sucks.
And the plot itself rewards her for it.
Yeah.
Okay, my theory. Order 66 was to eliminate Ahsoka Tano because the Emperor saw she was too damn powerful.
I don't. Yeah, imagine that be retconned in there at some point. No, that's not what happened.
And she's the one that survives, right?
Yeah, she gets to survive. We're also seeing. So I show you, Clone Wars is the thing that fixes the prequels apparently, because we needed that done. We got more coming here. Here's this sentiment that's out there. Here we go. Sam Witwer, who's a great guy, met him, great guy, great actor, and everything like that. And he's come out recently about saying some things against Rian Johnson, all that's kind of fine. But also, don't forget that Ahsoka Tano is right up there with Luke Skywalker in being the bestest ever. And I'm gonna come back around to this again in a second. Ahsoka Tano, the bestest ever, just like Luke Skywalker. No, she's anywhere near remotely on the level of Luke. And the way this article tries to make it and tries to sell it, and the way I've seen this this sentiment tried to be sold before, is that, well, she does what Anakin couldn't, because you see, she steps away from the Jedi Order when that's what he should have done, but she actually does it, and that's why she's so amazing. That's not the right answer here. The right answer is to live in a balanced way. The right answer is to not just sulk and leave and come back and no, that's not. She didn't do anything. I'm getting ahead of myself. We'll get to that in a second. I don't know where Fan Man is. I dropped the link. Let me. Did he just leave because he didn't think?
I don't know. He saw it.
I'm neglecting to I'm waiting. I don't want to get into my real flow again, because then I don't want to break it up just to I don't want to leave him hanging in backstage either, though. So
I didn't actually read the article that you were sharing about the previous one about Clone Wars, whatever, fixing or whatever. But I do remember that throughout the first 2 seasons, I was saying there's a lot of things in here that actually do kind of help the prequel a lot. Makes a lot of things make a lot more sense. And I even said to Nanette, I'm like, I can't believe that we're sitting here binge watching a cartoon about politics. I mean, that's really what it is. It's all about politics and commerce. And I'm like, really? And I'm enjoying this, It's some really good stuff, some really deep, intricate weaving of storylines. But I'm not far enough into it. I guess I've been assuming that we were going to see some character growth in Ahsoka. I did not realize that's not what I was going to get. And why does that picture have a picture of a yellow lightsaber in Luke's hand?
Exactly, right?
Have they only ever experienced Luke Skywalker through the Kenner action figures? What is going on here? This is get retro blasting in here.
Exactly. Well, let's talk about season 7 then now, because season 7, I said it was a mess, and I stand by that, even though there's some great things in it. But you think about season 7, you back up and look at it. You've got 3 story arcs that don't feel like 3 story arcs of the same season. They feel like three pitches for what the season should be about. And instead of picking one and developing them, they just kind of throw them all together as a compilation. That's what it feels like. They're so different in tone. They're different in approach and all of that. As I said, you don't really have any character continuity in between them. The Bad Batch is glorious. That truly does feel like old Clone Wars, because that was basically written and that was basically done. But, when back in the day, they just had to polish up some animation and such like that. The Trace little arc they did there, that was completely reworking over based on Disney agenda, right? I mean, they cut the guy they were going to have in there, the character, and they put Trace and Rafa in there to, do their identity politics. I mean, that was them business as usual there. So that was totally off. And I don't think anybody, only the staunchest, SJW types are really even trying to still defend that. Then we get the Siege of Mandalore. Now, the Siege of Mandalore is supposed to take place right after that Trace Rafa arc, because that's where Ahsoka meets Bo-Katan, and she tells her about the Maul being on Mandalore, and they need the Jedi's help and everything. So the very next episode, those last 4 episodes, when Ahsoka comes back to Anakin and Obi-Wan there, that's supposed to be right after that, and you get a completely different Ahsoka in that episode than you did in the Trace Rafa arc there, and the growth isn't shown. There's no reason for it. Suddenly she's just different. Maybe you could reason that and say, okay, well, this is her suddenly back in the presence of Anakin and Obi-Wan. It makes sense she'd act a little differently. Okay, we'll go for that a little bit. But then, as I've said before, she announces, well, I'm going to go get Maul. And they're like, cool, go get him. Make sure you capture him, though. Don't go crazy and kill him. As though she would ever be able to do this. As I said before, this is Darth Maul, the one who was too much for Obi-Wan the last time they faced each other. And people in their ridiculous trying to reason this out and saying, no, I mean, they would have talked about how dangerous he was before, so they didn't have to say it again. If you're a father and your daughter's about to go drive in the rain, I don't care how many conversations you've had about the dangers of driving in inclement weather before. Yeah. If you care about her at all, and if she's not a Mary Sue who can amazingly do anything all of a sudden, you would say, be careful. I can't stop you from going, but at the very least, please, something like that. But no, because there was a shift in the show at that point. And we saw it with the agenda politics that was coming in with the Trace and Rafa arc. The shift was to treat them as though they're Mary Sue's now. She gets the full Mary Sue treatment. She had elements of Mary Sue-ness throughout the Clone Wars here and there, but she got the full treatment here. Then throughout the rest of the arc, she is with quiet grace. As I said, suddenly she's Galadriel from Lord of the Rings, basically. It's ridiculous. She is able to defeat Darth Maul. Now you could make this work somehow, but the series didn't bother making it work. She basically just went ahead and captured Darth Maul because, Ahsoka. And then, oh my gosh, not the last episode, but the one before that, what the hell's up with the pacing of that episode? Like, they expect for you to know that this is happening at the same time as Order 66. So the first 10 minutes of the episode is just Ahsoka walking around. And then she walks around with Maul in a containment unit behind her, because he's her trophy. And they walk around for a while. And that's it. Then they get on the ship and Order 66 finally kicks into place and stuff like that. But horrible pacing. This writing is horrible. No one wants to see that. Everybody just wants to say that Ahsoka's amazing. Dave Filoni's our chosen one. It's all great. It ties into our member berries of episode 3. So we're loving it. How dare you evil misogynist, for saying anything bad against her. Let me stop so I can get Fan Man in here.
In fairness, there might be an alternate reason for this whole, let her go fight Maul thing. I mean, maybe Anakin and Obi-Wan were about to say something and Yoda stopped them and said, no. Opportunity this is. End this bitch, Maul might.
I like it. Welcome, El Hombre de Fan.
El Hombre de Fan. He's there, right?
Yeah, he's getting his music cleared up.
Oh, yeah, of course. No, that's Greek. Sorry.
Bienvenido. which means welcome. I'm saying welcome to myself. It is great to be here, gentlemen.
Welcome to the Fan Man Show.
Happy Cinco de Mayo.
I'm a little disappointed that you don't have a racially insensitive accent.
You know, I can put on the one for you in a moment. Notice this will not take me long to do it. All you see is right here for you. Would you like some taquitos, perhaps with some salsa, or perhaps some huevos rancheros? See,
I like that it started out as Speedy Gonzalez and then kind of morphed into what's his name?
Antonio
Ricardo Montalban.
Ricardo Montalban. I like that.
Montalban. Yeah.
Don't insult my intelligence. Gentlemen, I sent you a message there, Professor, saying you may not want to let me in now because I have nothing contributing to this topic that's positive. However, I do have something related, but I don't want to step on any toes.
Man, that's Fan Man, they don't have anything to say positive either.
My reputation El Presidos me.
El Presidos. El Presidos.
El Mio Mayo. Let's call the whole thing off. What?
It sounds
Are you? Did you say
like a new tortilla chip? El Presidos.
What's happening? I don't know what's happening.
You never know what's happening.
Daniel Heron, thank you for $2. Says, can we get some Mexican Palpatine?
Bueno.
It is your destiny to pass this salsa con carne.
How's that? That sounded kind of like the Emperor.
I like it.
Smoking about 40 packs. And one thing he wanted to have some. This is probably more offensive right here, senor. I can keep going. I have subtle variations of racially insensitive voices and dialects.
Wonderful.
In all fairness, though, and in all the severity that office hours is a very serious affair. I want to make sure I'm serious here, and I'm ready now to
rum chata. That's how serious it is.
I don't know what that is. It sounds Klingon. I might be amazing.
It's alcoholic. That's all you need to know.
Oh, but no, I'm here. I'm here with a serious mind. I did a video earlier on a topic related to this one. And by related, I mean it has to do with Star Wars. And, got angry, kids. It's one of those 20-minute ones that Prof says, look, I don't have time for you and your plus 15-minute videos. You better break it up, man. So I'm going to break it up into 10-minute segments. But it is, I felt the old fire. I felt the old darkness within. I felt the anger, rage.
I had some tacos. I'm going to be feeling that pretty soon, too.
It's funny. We tried tonight, my family. We went to 3 places to get some tacos for Cinco de Mayo, and we were out of El Loco at each place. It was terrible.
El Loco, yes, that's the Spanish for luck.
Is that luck? Is it? I think no. It's probably. Is it la? Is it feminine? La Lucca? Is that no? That would be La Lucca, right?
La Fortuna, I believe it is.
Yeah. Oh, yes, I knew a woman named Fortuna once. She left me in the middle of the night with my wallet. I don't know. That's why. What that means?
Fortuna for her, yeah.
That I had to have. We ended up eating. I ate an omelet for dinner, and I'm drinking scotch. So we're making all this very. What do you call that? UN. It's the United Nations. But I don't mean to take you off this track, although that's what I've done, and I did intend to do it. Are you guys still talking about this topic? Because we're going
to be talking about this topic all night.
I'll let you finish, and then I'll see what happens after that.
So you're going to come back in 2 hours? Is that what you said?
I'll be sleepy by then. No,
of course.
I was just saying that I will. Look, I'm trying to turn on the camera, but it ain't working. By God,
I see the circle turning.
We're on Star Wars pretty much all night tonight for the Revenge of the Fifth.
That is my topic. That's
Revenge of the Fifth. Yeah,
what I've got. I just want to give you an idea of where I am personally because I know you all want to know.
You're on Wi-Fi, aren't you?
Wi-Fi? What else is there? Hell, I don't know. Yes, I am. My daughter says to me yesterday in the living room, "Hey, there I am." Sadly, on video.
Your daughter said, "Hey, there I am" on video. Why are you letting your daughter stream?
Oh no, I don't even let her on Facebook.
Good.
Yesterday we were downstairs and she says to me, "Oh yeah, Daddy, I forgot. Happy May the 4th." And And I didn't even, there was no filter and there was no hesitation. I went, Star Wars is dead. I felt like Egon saying print is dead. I mean, it was that instant, and it was with that kind of religious assurance there, print is dead. So that's where I am. There you go.
Hand you a power drill to do a personal lobotomy with? I mean, just
no, they both
she should have.
This is the new thing. She's already learned the hard way never to roll her eyes around me because I will yell at her in public, which has already happened at a restaurant.
I don't understand how anyone cannot roll their eyes around you.
Well, usually I don't mind but
the fruit of your loins is not allowed.
That preteen eye roll is something pretty wicked. That's a special.
It's pretty bad. Well, she's a teenager now, but she did it in public, and I lit into her, and I was like, "Look, when I was a teacher, I threw people out for less, but disrespect, that's one of the highest forms of it. You roll your eyes at me again, I will make your life hell." And my wife's like, "You don't think that's too harsh?" I was like, "No, because she'll never do it again." But now she's subverting that, and she's doing the sigh. And tonight in the vehicle on the way back from my parents' house, I had to go in and lay into her with the, "You sigh again, and you'll walk the rest of the way home." And no, it's not child abuse because I know some people that live around here. So, but yeah, that's where I am. So I'll just
you might like
an observer.
You might like some of the things I'm going to say here then.
Very likely. But I'll wait for you to give me an okay to talk again. How's that?
Okay.
Is that a bit of rye that you're drinking there?
This is Glen Livet 15.
You had me at Glen. That's all you needed to say.
Yeah. That's from my brother-in-law for my graduation and birthday.
Nice.
He's a good
I
man.
have a cold can of 2019 Diet Dr. Pepper pre-quarantine. Diet Dr. Pepper. Yes.
If I hadn't gotten this horchata, that's what I would have been having. So, hey, one way or another, it was going to be rum tonight.
Troy, did you make that tankard for yourself there? I'm sure there's a Klingon name, but did you make that, or is it? You can that?
So this particular style of cup was used by the Klingons in Deep Space Nine, which is why I use it. However, all it is a restaurant measuring cup.
That's what it looks like.
And it's got a patina on it because you don't want it bright and shiny. You throw it in the dishwasher, and it gets that nice patina on it, so it looks like it's an ancient drinking tankard.
Nice.
You don't want it looking like this.
Oh no, that's too shiny.
You want it looking like that.
It needs to look like it's had blood in it, blood wine, and it's been used.
It has had blood wine in it, and Chech and more Chech. You want to translate that? That means drink to get you drunk.
Now let me go back to Clone Wars here, because people have the like as I was saying, they have the most ridiculous defenses for this. She could so easily beat Darth Maul where Obi-Wan couldn't. Obi-Wan and Ventress, mind you, couldn't, because, well, he had a lot on his mind. He had a lot on his mind. Order 66 was going down, and he was worried about that. So that's why she beat. Oh, okay, that's why she beat him. And then in the next episode, once Order 66 goes down, she goes to free Darth Maul because they're about to go kill him. He's not one of Sidious's lackeys or whatever with the Force, so he needs to die. So she saves him from the clones who are about to kill him and lets him go. And he's like, "You're letting me go?" She's like, "Yeah." He asked for a lightsaber. No, he says why. She says, "Because I need you to go cause a diversion." And he's like, "Well, then give me a lightsaber." She's like, "No, because I don't even care if you die." And she very casually turns around and just walks away from Darth Maul as he says, "Yes, ma'am," and turns around and hops to and goes to follow the order of Ahsoka Mary Sue Tano, because Darth Maul's not that important or that powerful, right? I mean, he's basically just, a little lapdog for characters like Ahsoka Tano. So, that's all in there now. And they've got all kind of ridiculous, oh, well, he didn't really want to kill her, see, because no, shut up. Stop pulling these reasons out of your ass to try to make this work. It doesn't. It's bad writing. Deal with it. Accept it. The Clone Wars has fallen. It's not that season 7 was nowhere near what we should have gotten. There were some good moments in that last episode. I like the fact that they didn't try to force a confrontation or force Ahsoka into Darth Vader's life. At that point, he just kind of sees her a lightsaber and thinks that she's dead. That's fine. But people were trying to spin this. I saw on Twitter, they were trying to say, look how amazing this is. He saw her lightsaber and thought she was dead, and that was the final step into him becoming Darth Vader. She's the final. It's she that really kind of makes him cross that threshold. Are you kidding me? Ahsoka is nothing compared to Padme and to all the stuff that he went through in episode 3. Stop trying to rewrite the whole history of his character arc and try and shove her in at the end is way more important than she is. That doesn't work.
Yeah, I think killing the love of your life and having your best friend chop you up a little bit, I think I might supersede like a little Padawan that may or may not be dead.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, do you guys saw that thing that I shared with you last night, right? The little meme or whatever it was that was shared in the expanded universe group.
Which one? Remind me. I saw a lot.
So there was this picture that somebody had posted in the Star Wars expanded universe thing.
Padme's ghost, like always,
Darth
loving
Vader with Padme's ghost giving him a hug with the necklace, in her hand.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the first things that someone said was, "True love never dies, not even in a galaxy far, far away." And I sent it to these guys, and I'm like, I didn't say this as a comment, but I wanted to say, really? Even after you choke it out and because you were jealous? I mean, really?
While she's pregnant still? Yeah.
While she's pregnant with your kids? Really? True love never dies. You just choked it out. I'm like, oh my gosh.
So we found out where Troy was in Clone Wars. Al's yet to take the journey. Fanman, did you ever?
And the other thing is, I've never been one to worry about spoilers because let's face it, as I keep telling Nanette, she keeps saying, "Do they kill that guy? Do they kill this guy? Do they kill that guy?" I'm like, honey, I promise you, if there is a character that we have seen in the prequels, they don't die until you see them die in the prequels.
Exactly.
We will watch Revenge of the Sith again after season 7.
Sidious kills Fisto.
Troy, a real man would tell his wife to shut up and let him watch the TV. And then, of course, after she beats the living crap out of him, then he'd realize how wrong he was. But I'm just saying. So
if that means I'm not a real man, I just am appreciative of the fact. And I say this like every fourth episode. I say to her, I am really enjoying the fact that you are enjoying watching Clone Wars. Yeah, this is really good. And I'm like, it is so awesome that you think that.
More glimpses into paradise there.
I mean, there's some things I can complain about, but there's a lot of things I'm very, very thankful for.
Yeah, we can literally hear about it. Ask you
this horchata right now. Thanks again, Patrick.
But I do have so I want to say something about where Disney's going with this. But man, I don't know. Did you ever jump into season 7, or have you get through there? Or are you not even going to worry about it?
Don't roll your eyes at us.
No, that wasn't a sigh. That was a deep breath. Here's how I feel, and I think I speak for Professor Geek when I say this. We are all who feel strongly about these topics. We're in a bit of a conundrum, a pickle, if you will, because on one hand, we want people to watch our content. We want people to click. We want to generate interest. We want to keep interest. Conversely,
like and subscribe, everybody.
Not conversely. Yeah, hit that subscribe button and the button that looks like a bell. We're not sure what that does, but hit it. And the like button. But at the same time, there is the sense, and it's one I've shared before and I still have, the sense of that if I can't stay, and apparently Professor Geek can because he's of a higher caliber of I think, mental health than I am. If you can't talk about it anymore,
that's not a high bar.
With yeah, not much. Then if you can't talk about it without getting too invested in it, at some point you have to take a break, which I've done with many topics. Here's the thing: I did a video today, and I mentioned it earlier, and I say in that video that I am still in mourning, and I'm still in mourning from that experience. December 18th, was it, or 16th, back in 2016, whenever The Lost Jedi was. And for me, it's very hard to it's hard for me to even watch the original trilogy when it comes on television as it did today. And I'll tell you why, because for whatever reason, we've got the West Coast TNT, and we've got the regular, I suppose, Central Time. I don't know. And it shows that, hey, right now it's Return of the Jedi, but or it's going to be Return of the Jedi, but right after that on the other coast, it's going to be The Force Awakens. And so that was a very visual image for me of the interconnectedness of what is Star Wars and what isn't at all. And so as far as to answer your question, no, but that was to give you a reason why I haven't watched it. I have fought battles and probably lost them because I think that we still have the subscription. But I told my wife, I will not watch anything with any of you that's on Disney Plus. I don't want it in the house. I don't want us to give our money to it. I am that firmly against it. However, you're going to do what you want to do, probably because you make more money than I do, and that's fine. You're paying for it. But I will not watch it. I will not support it. I will not watch The Mandalorian. Even if it were free somehow, I won't watch the Clone Wars. And the other thing about, so to answer that question, but I also want to say this. I feel like the Clone Wars ended, and my memory's fuzzy. I watched it in first run, and then I watched it again when the new season came out on Netflix, old new season. And if memory serves, plus I love the Genndy Tartakovsky series, and those, as far as I know, fit together. And as far as I know, that second season of the Tartakovsky ends with the descent of it ends right before the Battle of Coruscant.
Yeah.
Revenge of the Sith. So I feel like I'm done, and I feel like I don't need any more. And I'm not saying that if Disney hadn't done this, I wouldn't be watching, because that's kind of a no-brainer. But I also feel like the story closed for me. So no, I haven't watched it. And coming full circle with what I started saying, I can't bring myself to watch it or really talk about it, because it frustrates me so much that there are still people out there, and of course, not talking about us, but there are people, I spend too much time on Twitter, and there are people who are willing to give a pass for this show. Oh, Dave Filione's the greatest. No, he isn't. I'm going to give a pass to Taika Waititi. That's actually my rant, but I don't know if we'll get to that.
Oh, we are going to get to that. Absolutely.
When I did the video on there. And I just know there's no pass. There's nothing, and now I've seen about 3 news stories this week about this kind of retconning of the past of Star Wars. You guys touched on some of that. Now they're doing that with Ahsoka. They're doing that now with the Sith, the Rule of Two. So I just am trying to stay away from it. And the only reason I talked about the Taika Waititi topic in this video is because I passionately hate this man and what he did in Thor Ragnarok. And I take to task people who just gave that a pat. Oh, it was funny. It was funny. And there were a lot of colors and a lot of bright lights. Well, I'm sure driving down your main stretch of your hometown at night is going to have many of the same things. Not sure that it's high quality mythic entertainment.
I do have to speak up though for the colorful thing. The colorful thing he specifically said was because he was inspired by Kirby's artwork. That alone is enough for me to say, okay, as far as the color goes, as far as the look goes, if you were inspired by Kirby, somebody in this effing Marvel universe needed to acknowledge Kirby.
The problem with that is that he maybe got the color of Kirby right. That's kind of like saying in Justice League we got Superman's suit brighter, but it's still not Superman, because they dismantled they deconstructed and replaced Thor and his Shakespearean, family drama based story.
That is
with
true.
With a guy who, when you think about it, and this is what I talk about in my video, because I don't think a whole lot of people realize this about Ragnarok, that Ragnarok really did paint Odin as he had the hidden daughter, right? And that's not in the comics. Yeah. And then the patriarch is evil. Let's destroy everything the patriarchy created. Bye-bye Asgard. Bye-bye All-Father. And now she's in charge and she dies, but there's no Asgard anymore. And now we know Tessa Thompson's the new queen somehow without a king. How does that happen? You don't need one today. You can just probably walk into an Asgardian lab somewhere and they'll, asexually make you a queen. I don't know what I'm even talking about there, but the point is this, that the color to me was one of the reasons I was excited about that film, and the music, and it looked like, hey, this is going to be getting into that kind of wonderful comic book action and cosmic sense that the Thor comics had. And no, it was just kind of like it's more fan baiting and it's more nostalgia baiting. Hey, we're going to make this look like the old comics. It won't have anything to do with it as far as content, but it'll look like it. And when I see people say things like, and I've seen it on Twitter, and I don't know if Age Boomer, I don't know if he's serious or
Pretty
not.
sure he's trolling you, but
Okay. Yeah, good. Taika Waititi will further destroy Star Wars. He can't save anything, and he has. And I don't want to anticipate your next story, but I watched this and got involved with it on Twitter today. He's telling people, "I will destroy your," and I don't forget which word he used, franchise, or I'll destroy your myth or whatever. And I never understood this guy with the punchable face and the annoying voice. Why was I supposed to like him? I didn't know who he was or really what a Taika Waititi was. Really, I thought it was a drink that had an umbrella in it until I read up on him before Ragnarok.
Ooh,
And then I saw that film and I thought this is terrible, and this is the man responsible, and so. I guess I don't understand. Oh, he was on The Mandalorian. Whoop-de-doo. And so now he's suddenly going to save Star Wars. There are people saying that seriously. There are people saying that his movie is going to be great. Meanwhile, he's taking fans to task about Love and Thunder. I can't understand it. And I'm not mad, really, even with Taika Waititi or even Kat Kennedy or any of these people. I'm mad at the fans who claim to be the fandom menace and are menacing no one because somebody dangled a little nostalgia bait in front of them, and that's all it took. It's like, where's your fidelity? Imagine you're married, and the first woman that comes by and hikes up her skirt a little bit, you go and take her biblically behind the shed there. It's the same thing here. All you
Actually,
need to see was something.
Can I interrupt you for a second?
Go ahead.
Your analogy is flawed because I do want to defend it.
Hey, it sounds like we're getting to something here. Let me just get
the
this
analogy would
real
be
quick.
better if my wife had died years ago and I've been all alone and I've had no affection whatsoever and a girl smiled at me. That's what it's like.
Yeah.
That's what it's really like.
David Deister for $10. I can't let that go for too long because I really appreciate
Right.
that one. Talk about something else, like how you would reboot Marvel and DC Comics, better yet, how you reboot Star Wars and Star Trek. Very simple answer on the Star Wars. You do the Thrawn trilogy. You forget the Disney sequel trilogy and you do the Thrawn trilogy. But we can talk more about that, definitely.
I would argue that none of them except one needs to be rebooted. Although, what I will say is I can't fault David Deister too much because, well, he's better looking than I am.
I will say that this is an unpopular opinion, but I would say reboot none of them and let them go, and let's try to create something new, because all of those four things only came about because people were doing something new. There was no in the 60s there was nothing like what Stan and Jack and all those guys did, and in 38 there was nothing like what Siegel and Schuster did, and there was nothing like Star Trek in 63, and there was nothing in 77 like Star Wars, and we never have that again until we make something new. So when I hear reboot now, I have no hope in a reboot. I have zero hope, and I have zero trust in the people who would be the ones doing the reboot. So to me, it's dead, gone. Dead, gone in the sense of future under now their properties and their marketing exploitive kind of things. They're not even they're hollow shells, husks, caricatures. They're dead. And so let's take now. That doesn't mean we don't honor and always go back to the classics, and that includes stuff like the EU. But I think it's time to move on for a reboot. And the professor and I know for sure we were part of that rebirth hope for so long, and that is kind of a ballpark idea of what we're going to be seeing with all these franchises. I'm really pissed. Even more now that Ghostbusters 2020 Afterlife got pushed out because I really wanted to see if they were going to pull it off.
Yeah.
I think that could be it could be a benchmark, but I also think if it does succeed and it actually does it right, it's still going to be missed by many other studios who will go, oh, they just pandered. And it's probably impossible for Star Trek. I think it's definitely impossible for Star Wars. DC, Marvel, I don't think they'll be publishing comics in the next 5 years anyway. They're getting their digital stuff. I mean, I read the latest digital comic by Robert Venditti today, and holy crap, it was iconic and great. And I just don't understand how you can do it that way and not do it in your main books.
My concern is that, my hope is that by being pushed out, any of these movies, that gives them more opportunity to do it right and get it. You know, I mean, I've seen too much rushing. It's when you rush that things get ruined. If you take your time, you might have a chance of getting it right. The other thing is it's impossible, or we need to make it impossible. If Afterlife turns out to be really, really good, we need to make sure that it is a slam dunk home run. Did I just mix my metaphors there? I don't know my sports ball. But anyway, if it makes bank, then nobody's going to be able to argue with that. They're going to say, well, they pander to the fans, and the studio's going to go, yep, and we're laughing our way to the bank, and we're going to keep pandering because that keeps the ka-ching going.
Well, you guys are touching on something here, which is kind of touched on the huge darkness bomb that I want to drop tonight. But Al hasn't gotten to say much yet. Al, I know you're probably bursting with some sunshine over there containing it. Do you want to shine your light before my darkness bomb or after it? What would you prefer?
Well, like I said, with the whole Clone Wars subject, I really don't have anything to contribute because I haven't really seen it, so I'm not going to judge it until I do. I kind of want to pick up on something that Fan Man said, and that is maybe it is time to let some things just lie, at least for a while, and start creating new things, finding new things. I mean, we keep talking about Star Wars because it's all we seem to want to think about a lot, and sometimes we need to go out and really find something new. And I know it's hard in the climate that we're in right now because really nobody's making anything new. But I just one thing today, I was on Amazon today, and I see the series called I think it's, what was it, Upload, Download, something on Amazon, starring Robbie Amell.
Is that something Carbon?
No, that's something. This is a series that before you die, you can get uploaded into an afterlife. Of course, depending on how much you get paid and everything, and things like that. And
so, in other words, you buy your way into heaven, and the more you pay, the better your heaven is.
Oh yeah, pretty much. But there's some issues now. I've only seen the one episode, and so far I like what I see. But sometimes you just gotta hunt some things down rather than hoping that.
What's going on over there, Fan Man?
Nothing. Nothing to see here. Carry on. Sorry, Al.
Drop the contact lens.
But like I say, you know, get on Netflix, get on Amazon, get on Hulu, find new stuff, things you haven't seen before.
It looks like Fan Man's trying to find some old stuff.
Things you never gave a chance, and you could. They're out there. You just need to track them down. But like I said, I'm not going to be in the Star Wars is dead. Of course, you guys know I do not think Star Wars is dead. I think Star Wars is in pretty decent shape, depending on how certain things go. Like you all know how I thought about Mandalorian. I think it's a quality show, and if you don't want to give it a chance, yeah, that's fine. It's your choice. But
and see, there is something to be said about someone. And I'm sorry. I know I said I was going to mention your comment later if I could keep it in my head, but I can't remember who said it. Somebody in the stream said that Star Wars isn't dead because clearly the fans still care about it, even if it's the classic stuff. The toys for the vintage stuff are still selling left and right. Here I am with, the cantina, that I'm working on and stuff. So clearly there's still that passion and love. It's still alive in the hearts and minds of the real fans.
Well, yeah.
The problem.
And that show is called Upload, by the way. Stars Robbie Amell, Stephen Amell's cousin. So, and the guy who played Firestar, not Firestar, Starfire, whatever,
But
the nuclear guy from
Firestorm.
Flash. Firestorm. There you
So
go.
what you guys have me thinking though is, if I go out and buy, they release a new Jabba figure that I need for my diorama or something like that, and I go buy it, I'm still supporting Disney, which indirectly is supporting, this. So I am in one way voting with my dollars and saying, look, I don't want your new crap. I want, my vintage stuff. And they'll go, okay, we'll give you the vintage stuff. We'll use it to fund this crap that you don't want.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. And Agent Boomer brings up Disney's now saying Jen Erso is responsible for the Death Star getting destroyed. It was one of the new novels. Yeah, you're right. And they're trying to push all these new characters as more important than Luke or anybody like that. That Star Wars isn't dead in the hearts and minds of the fans. But what drives me crazy is that we kept it going. Well, not we, because I wasn't one of them at that point, but the fans kept it going, and the EU kept it going for so long before Hollywood came in and started meddling. So yeah, in this current climate, I don't trust them to do anything right. I mean, if I heard any show was going to get made or brought back or whatever, I immediately cringe because of what they're going to do to it in this climate, like what they did to Clone Wars when they brought it back for season 7. And I've got this question, or this point in the description. I said Disney's going to win. Disney's going to win the culture war for Star Wars, and you're going to help her. You're going to help them do it. Most likely, you're already helping them. No matter how much you protest, no matter how much you say "nuh-uh," and Fan Man touched on a little bit of this already. This is what they do. So remember when Disney's learned now. They've learned now that they can't just do whatever they want and keep the Star Wars fans no matter what. Right? They learned that with Last Jedi and with Han Solo and the Star Wars story. But they didn't learn that, we need to stop. We need to start over. We didn't do this right. No, all they learned at that point is, we'll just fix it up. We'll just throw them some bones. Rise of Skywalker will kind of fix things over and kind of retcon some stuff that Last Jedi did, and it'll all still be fine. No, it's not. Then, so everything didn't do as well, and everybody thought, well, Jon Favreau's doing The Mandalorian. Jon Favreau sounds like he's a pretty good guy. Let's see if this works. Everybody wants to give it another chance. Well, Mandalorian season 1 comes out, and it's amazingly well done, amazingly well written. No SJW nonsense in it I could see. But what did I say when it first came out? I said, stop going crazy about this. If you want to watch it and enjoy it, fine. But don't go all over Twitter. Don't make a big deal about how it's amazing. Star Wars is back. Jon Favreau or Dave Filoni, they're going to be the ones to save us. Everything is fine now. Because Disney doesn't care, and Disney hasn't learned that lesson. All that teaches Disney is that they can throw you a bone every now and then, and you'll just shut up and be fine with it. They can do whatever they want. They don't have to go retcon anything. They can rewrite the entirety of Star Wars history. Ahsoka's the bestest. Jen Erso's better than Luke. All this kinds of stuff. You'll shut up and play along if they just throw you a bone every now and then. You'll come swagging your stupid dog tail because, that looks like a chumpy Jon Favreau bone they're going to give me, whatever. And you'll eat it. You'll go back to them no matter what. You are letting them do this. You're letting them do this by denying that there's anything remotely wrong with season 7 of Clone Wars. No, it's fine. Everything's fine here. Mandalorian season 2 is going to feature this same Ahsoka Tano. And let me break it down for you even more. In Disney's continuity, Luke Skywalker, the one who ultimately brings balance to the Force, right? The one who is just, and like I said, probably the most amazingly aspirational character in our culture next to Superman from the 20th century. If you guys can think of another one that permeates culture, you don't even have to have watched their story or whatever to kind of know a little bit about them. Let me know. But I mean, just incredibly aspirational character. He decides to try to murder his nephew and go be a hermit on a planet, and then sort of briefly redeems himself at the end real quick. That's crap. That is not the treatment that character deserves. Yet Ahsoka Tano, because she's amazeballs, Ahsoka Tano gets to live through all of that, live through Order 66, live through the whole Empire thing and everything, and pop up in season 2 of The Mandalorian, where I guarantee you she will be there to show the Mandalorian the way and to be the guide and to be the wise one and blah, blah, blah. That's what they once they get it in, once they get your permission to start treating characters like that, they do so. That's not what you saw in Mandalorian season 1. Remember, Al, help me out. Who was the name of that trooper? What's her name that he meets and ends up teaming up with?
Cara Dune.
Cara Dune, okay. The relationship between the Mandalorian and Cara Dune in that first season, that was incredibly well written. They were comrades. There was nothing romantic. They trusted each other. They were comrades. It was wonderful. She didn't school him. She could do things that he couldn't because of her specific ARC trooper training and whatnot, and he could do things that she couldn't because of his Mandalorian. So that was a great relationship. Screw that. You're not going to see that in season 2. You've given them permission to write season 2 of Mandalorian the way they wrote season 7 of Clone Wars. Maybe not exactly to the extent, because you do have Favreau involved too. Maybe he'll put the reins on it or whatever, but we are letting them do this by our weakness not being able to say, that's enough. No, you don't get my support anymore. We'll give you this shiny new Mandalorian bone. Oh, okay, maybe it'll be good. Star Wars, Disney wins Star Wars. And you don't get more of it.
And it's worse than all that.
I do want to say one thing though about something that we brought up a little while ago, and I think it was it Owen Lister saying that they're retconning it to say that Jyn Erso destroyed the Death Star.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's like more important.
That's like saying the Bothans destroyed the second Death Star.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good point.
Exactly. Because you know what? I'm sorry, but she got herself dead. She wasn't even around to fire a bolt to destroy that. She didn't see it through. She didn't survive to see it through. I mean, her sacrifice, she was heroic. She was a hero. She did contribute, but no, I'm sorry. It wasn't all her. You can't hang it all on her. But it's kind of worse than all this. It becomes a bigger cultural thing. Mm. You know, you're pointing out, you're comparing Luke Skywalker to Superman. But look at what they're doing to all of our cultural icons. And there's a purpose for this. It's Superman. It's Luke Skywalker. It's Jean-Luc Picard. It's, Thor Lebowski. It's every hero has to be destroyed because this idea of an individual taking responsibility and being aspirational, we can't have that in the New Order.
Oh, no,
because we cannot have you thinking for yourself. Mm-hmm. You need to submit. And I could easily get off on a huge rant beyond Star Wars and start getting, oh my goodness.
Whoa.
Yeah. Hey, you can argue with me all you want for that kind of super chat. Let me get to
I'm done talking. That's the way you get Troy to shut up.
In fairness, Professor, you're generalizing by saying Disney. We need a focus of attention. Is it Kathleen Kennedy? Is it Bob Iger? Is it Dave Filoni? Or do we paint with broad brushes because we're dealing with a nameless, faceless corporation? Well, that's a great point. See, here's the thing. I used to think that it was just Kathleen Kennedy. It's her agenda coming in there, But Kathleen Kennedy, if
maybe a symptom of the problem.
Yeah, she's she might even be on the way out. But now we're hearing all these things that Dave Filoni has said, and there's videos of him saying these kinds of things too. And you're like, okay, well, why is he doing that? Is he doing that because he thinks that's the agenda he needs to bow to or whatever? Regardless, this is what he's doing now. Then you've got Headland, Leslie Headland, confirmed now, so now she's a part of it.
By the way, that woman is a man, and I see proof. That's a dude.
I'm telling you, it's the guy from Beetlejuice.
Otho, yeah.
He's dead. The actor's dead, but maybe
I don't think so. I think he went away, had a sex change, and now he's with Disney.
It wasn't much of a requirement to have the sex change. I believe it.
But Dexter Barry, you that's an amazing super chat. So thank you, sir. If you have an answer or a follow up to what I'm saying, just tag me in the chat, and I'm going to be keeping a lookout for you because you certainly don't have to super chat anymore to be part of the conversation there.
Hey, don't discourage people.
You want to throw my name? No, but I mean, no. If you have an answer to that, because that's an interesting question. See, I just every time I try to pin it on one person, more people pop up, or another person pops up or whatever. So for whatever reason, whoever's behind it, Disney's as a force, as its power now, I'm sure there are good people that work at Disney, but if you have an answer to that too, let me know in the chat.
I would like to say one thing. I mean, because Kennedy and Iger aside, let's look at someone like Filoni. You're judging a man's whole future intent on a couple of sound bites or the odd sound bite here and there.
No, on the results of the Clone Wars season 7.
Well, yeah, season 7, which even you said it really was just, still had its good points. But like I said, you take him out of the Clone Wars, he starts doing something else. It doesn't mean that he's going to be bringing those same kind of concepts, judgments, predetermined kind of outlook onto a future movie or series. That's why I always say, when whatever his new thing comes up, I'll judge it at the time of like all the stuff that surrounds it, whether I watch it or not, but
I think I'm going to go ahead and continue my point, because that $50 super chat literally was speaking to exactly what I was getting at. That I do think it's a bigger thing than just any one person at Disney. I think it's a bigger thing than just Disney itself. I think that it's this underlying, we can't have individuals thinking for themselves, being heroic, aspiring to be heroic, and standing up for something, because from each according to his abilities, to each according to his needs, fight the power, communism. That's what I'm seeing.
Yeah. Yeah, no meritocracy. It's your merit is in your intersectional points, your intersectional feminism victim points. How much
the more you can
you?
Be part of the collective, the more you can be a drone and assimilate with, the others, the better. But if you start to think for yourself or try to champion people's freedoms, no, we can't have that.
Fan Man, did you have more on the Taika Waititi thing? Because I didn't check the things on Twitter today, but you're absolutely right. I remember the way he dealt with fans, and it was he's incredibly disrespectful. To heck with you. I'm the writer. I tell you what you need to like. He's kind of one of those David Goiter types.
He actually says to one fan.
I said David Goiter.
Don't be an idiot.
I drink to that success right there. Let me I see if I can find it, because I got into a guy who was defending him and saying, boy, talk about fan, what was the term here? I'm going to forget the term. Hang on. I have to see it. That's just how it is. Hang on. I'm sure it's somewhere in here. But he basically said,
Glenn Finnan's kind of slowing your fingers, isn't it?
kind of fan entitlement. And I said, how? And then Taika replied and said, you don't know what you like until I tell you what you like, or make you, or show you what you like. And I thought, and I replied to that other fellow there, that guy that was, blowing Taika Waititi, essentially. I said, hey, you know what? Wouldn't you call that fan entitlement, where you're telling this fan, the director is telling the fan that he doesn't know what he likes until you give it to him? Nah. So, but yeah.
That kind of thinking.
Just kind of a flippant disregard, and said, I'm going to destroy. Now, he was referring to the Thor mythos, because somebody, I think the only other person that has either honestly appraised Ragnarok or come out and talked about it, said, oh, you've destroyed the Thor mythology. And he said, well, I'm going to destroy more in a minute, or something like that. And I thought,
this goes all the way back to Zack Snyder in his dealings with the Man of Steel. I've said from the very beginning.
Sorry, I got nauseous.
I've even back then I was saying, you know what? If Zack Snyder would come out and say, look, this is my version of Superman. I've been given the power to do it. This is what I want to do with the character. I understand not everybody likes it, but I'm doing it now. And one day, it'll be done again in a different way or whatever. I still wouldn't have supported anything he's doing to the character, but I wouldn't have felt such an anger towards him personally. And see, he didn't do that, though. He told you that you're stupid for not liking it, that this is the real Superman, and you're just stuck in the past. This is what these creators do. They can't just admit. It's kind of like that story you tell, Fan Man, of was it when Jeff Loeb took over the Superman run? And he said, look, you vote with your wallets. If you don't like what I'm doing, then, you show by that method, or whatever. But they don't respect the fans.
No, they don't. I don't know if you're ready. Go ahead. Well, it's essentially just saying, but I wanted to make sure we directly quote. Taika says, I'll ruin your mythos in a minute, baby. The fan, by the way, said, in all caps, which I don't recommend, it is due to your Marvel work that this mess is possible. Now, he's talking to Jason Aaron. Your writing ruined Thor, his mythos, and his character. So I do not want to see this film if we are truly getting a Jane Foster Thor. And then I actually came in and said something about Ragnarok, and then this guy who's taking Jason Aaron's task is like, I actually liked Ragnarok. And I'm like, well, how can you be that stupid that you don't like what was done in the comics with Thorette? By the way, Thor, a proper name. It is not a title. Goddess of Thunder would have been a title. You know, there's no Thorina or Thorette. No, anyway. But I'm going back down here. I'm looking to see because this is where this fan, and again, if I don't find it, we can surely move on because it is it is not important really. I just like to be specific there, but yeah, it's sickening, and I guess to your point, Professor Geek, these people that they'll say, and I had this discussion during the incident when I said, somebody please tell me why you want to see the Snyder Cut, which was a mistake to ask that. But I should point out that it got a lot of views, man. It actually was pretty good for my channel, so I may do it again. But I learned something. There are people who don't care about these properties. And again, kind of like what you were just saying there with Zack Snyder, they don't care about the properties. They follow the director. You know, Bendis, God, he once said before he got the Superman gig and came to DC, he said, I really never follow characters. This was in an interview with John Suntress, Word Balloon. By the way, John Suntress, bit of a shill, but I digress. That's a whole nother. He said, I really just follow creators. Well, they are not who you should be following. You can like a creator and like their take on a character, but we're following the characters. That's the reason for all of this. It's not for the creators. They're bigger than the creators, right? Grant Morrison, for all of his missteps, is very clear about that in many, many interviews and in his book Super Gods, which I haven't read yet, but have read excerpts from. So these people that will come in and like Taika Waititi and tell you these things, like, you don't know what you like until I tell you what it is or show you. And then people go, oh, well, I liked his movies. They just like his movies or his directorial style, such as it is. That's fine. Nobody's saying you can't. But don't come on here and tell fans who've grown up with the characters and the mythos for their whole lives that we, maybe don't know the characters because we don't like this director's vision, that we are racist, a bigot, an ist, or whatever it might be, because we're not going to support it. If it's not the characters, we will not support it. And that's why I guess I'm really kind of, it's just disappointing to see fans go, oh, I really like Dave Filoni on Clone Wars in the beginning, so I'll support The Mandalorian. Oh, I really like Taika Waititi in his vampire movies or whatever the hell he did, or for some reason you liked him in Ragnarok, so I'll support him in Star Wars because, he was on The Mandalorian. No. Do you really like the premise of these characters and their legacy, or do you just like this person? It's fine. It's fine. Let's go back to Zack Snyder. You can like Zack Snyder's work and his style, but don't tell me that you know Superman because you do, and that's Superman, because it isn't. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what's most kind of distressing for me, is the amount of people who are mixing this up. And I did find people on that Zack Snyder video that were honest. And I think if we would be probably less angry, all of us here, if people were just more honest about it and go, I don't care about Superman, I don't care about Luke Skywalker, I just like, for whatever reasons, Rian Johnson's style. I know a lot of people were interested in him being in Star Wars because they liked Looper. And I didn't see Looper. I heard good things. There were people who were hoping the Zack Snyder Superman would be great because they liked Watchmen or they liked 300. Okay, but then you can't then seeing it immediately assume, but that's still Superman, that's still Star Wars, because it isn't. It's that director's vision, and it's the Warner Brothers effect. They did it long before Star Wars. These companies are no longer concerned with the mythos, the character, the integrity of the characters. They want the creator to put their stamp on it, and that's what they're selling. Mm-hmm. And they know that the majority of people, sadly, aren't fans really of the characters. They don't even really know a lot about the characters, and they're kind of serving two masters. They're serving the egos of these Hollywood creatives, and then they're also serving John and Jane Q viewer in public, who's like, I don't know anything really about I don't have a connection anyway. So, it had flashing lights and beeps and boops, and I was entertained for 2.5 hours. And so, yeah, great, I'll watch more. And that's where I think we are.
Yeah. Al, rebuttal?
I just think it's not as bad as that, and I just want to enjoy things.
Well, you're talking. you're talking about like like following the creator or something like that. I really don't do that. I mean, I'm aware of some of creators and things they do. Like if George Lucas is going to do something, you're aware of it. Spielberg, same kind of thing. But I like I said, I'll watch because I follow and I enjoy a franchise. I like Star Wars, and for the most part, I like a lot of the things that has come from that franchise ever since '77. There have been some missteps lately. I completely agree, and there's been some good things lately. So I'm not going to jettison an entire franchise that I love because of the odd misstep or someone bloviating a bit hard on social media. It's just that's just not what I'm going to do. Like I said, season 2 Mandalorian, I'm going to start watching it, and it's got a very high degree of. It's going to have to really screw up for me not, to really just jettison it.
I got 3 words for that. Game of Thrones.
Well, I didn't watch Game of Thrones, so
I'm just saying it has happened and it will happen again. These things continue.
And Game of Thrones, I'm sure for a lot of people that didn't like it, it had its fans that were perfectly fine with how
nobody liked the last season.
Somebody did.
Yeah, I would defy you to find one. Maybe the guys that wrote
Idaho,
it. Even the people that were in it didn't like it.
Because the world is not an absolute. So I'm saying there could be one little guy sitting with a rum chata in a regular glass, and
well, if he's in a regular class, he better not tell anyone he's got a rum chata.
So I'm just saying, a lot of people are just going to jettison an entire thing, and even if you didn't like the last season of Game of Thrones, the next property that takes place in that universe, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to give it a chance because they're going to be
if that book ever gets written. Yeah.
Well, I'm talking about like the HBO prequel or whatever it is that they're talking about doing.
That's what they're doing. I don't think it's going to
because people they may like George R.R. Martin, but they're going to follow that because they like the universe, they like the land, they like the lore, and that's just a fact.
And I think that's what you guys are all saying. Exactly what Al said. We will continue to keep getting this crap because there's going to be people that are going to keep supporting it. So you're absolutely right.
What else was?
I mean, and like I said, if I want to watch something because I genuinely like it, if I don't think it's, you think it's crap, not everybody's going to think it's crap. That's all I'm saying.
I got a super chat for Dexter Berry. Oh man, you didn't have to super chat again, but thank you, sir. No man can serve 2 masters. Good point. Good point, sir. Yeah.
This may be your most profitable stream.
I know. You guys are rocking here.
I just want to point out that it was never going to get these kinds of monetary drops until I came aboard. So
that's right. You see what the correlation here.
Well, that is true. They came in after he joined the stream.
Equals money.
Fan man can be found on Venmo, Professor. That's all.
Actually, I'm going to say fan man on Professor Geek's channel equals money. Fan man on his own, I'm not so sure.
No, you're right about that. Fan man on his own channel is talking to himself usually. No, I've gotten. I don't want to diminish the super chats that I've gotten.
I'm there.
Hey, I would have watched your Facebook stream had I known it was coming. It was just there and it was done, and I caught it in rewatch.
I felt bad too. Like same thing with Sound Engraver's concert yesterday.
Yeah,
I was tuning into her live stream last night. Like she gave the concert. I was asleep at that point. No, I missed it. Yeah,
I know. I watched it today. I was like, why the hell? Where the hell did this come from?
I know. I woke up 2 hours after it had well, maybe it wasn't 2 hours. Maybe it was an hour after she released it. And I was like, oh.
Well, what else was announced yesterday? Because I've seen the story. So Taika Waititi is going to get a Star Wars movie, which honestly, I don't know when that's supposed to come timeline wise, but I don't see.
There's no details yet.
Okay,
I don't see any details.
I don't see Thor: Love and Thunder making anywhere near the Marvel money that the previous phases have made. I don't see any of the Marvel movies really making that kind of money anymore because most people don't want to spend time anymore in that universe after what they did with Endgame, and they're trying and they know that. That's why it's been so long since they did a movie. They're trying to twist it, maybe make some TV shows.
This speaks to a larger thing that I've been thinking a lot about, Professor. There's a lot of talk, and it becomes a debate. Okay, well, we gotta take this franchise and we've got to hand it off to the next generation, right? Okay, you're absolutely right. The way
you mean a character of the next wave of characters, like the next wave of Avengers? You mean?
Well, okay, yes.
I mean, writers behind the scenes
in universe, yes. But what I meant was as far as viewership. Okay, we need to get because let's face it. I mean, as uncouth as some of these corporate shills have been in saying it, they're not wrong when they say, look, the fan base is getting older. If we want to continue this fan base, we need to bring in a new generation of viewers. That's fine. But the way you do that is with a natural progression of the story. You don't just kill off the past and start something brand new, because that's like letting go of one rung of a ladder before you grab hold of the next. If you do that, you run the risk of falling. Yeah. And that's what so many of them are doing. Let's go back to Dexter Berry before I continue.
No. He says, I think Midnight's Edge was onto something with the difference between now and 80s, where the money was modest enough to result in much beloved movies versus now where the dollar is all, and they'll do anything for that money.
And Midnight's Edge has actually made a great point about that, saying that you could take bigger risks, and that's what we did. And what happens when you take bigger risks? You have flops, but if they're mitigated by the fact that you're not spending a lot of money on them, you can do more of that. And eventually the big risk can pay off big. That's what Star Wars was. It was not, it was high budget for its time, but in retrospect, it wasn't that high a budget with not very big stars. And any big stars they had were in small roles. Okay. All of the main characters were unknown people that weren't demanding lots of money, and it paid off hugely. It was the what do you call it? The lottery, and that's when it was great. And now, unfortunately, they're spending billions on it, and they're not seeing the returns because it's not as good. They're not taking the risks. You got to take risks to have a return.
Speaking to the the passing off the franchise or whatever to new generations of fans too and everything, the another point I make, going back to the DC universe, was that people tried to say when the New 52 came about, you got to modernize these characters. This is for new fans. Those were yours when you grew up. Now this is a new generation is taking over. And I just shake my head. Do you realize how long these characters have been around? From the 30s to 2011, these characters say mostly the same.
4 or 5 generations.
Yeah. Crises would happen, but the characters basically still stayed who they were.
Universal.
Exactly. But no, these are enforced changes from the top and from an agenda, usually when it comes to Star Wars and such. So don't give me the whole, that's just a natural progression.
What you're talking about with characters like that, the difference with superhero characters is they keep using the sliding timeline so that they're always perpetually 30 years old. Star Wars is a different thing. You're starting with one generation, you're telling that generation story, you progress to the next generation. You need to finish it off in the same, flow, so to speak. The way to bring in another generation is not just emasculate and kill off your previous generation. You let them continue their storyline and weave in the next generation. And then when those characters are done, you feel like something was completed in a natural way. You feel great about it. Now you can turn your attention to this new generation that you started liking 3 movies ago. Now they get to be the hero in episode 10. They don't get to be the hero in episode, what is it? 8, 9, and 10, 7, 8, and 9. They get introduced, built up, and then become the hero of the next one.
Were you gonna say something, Fan Man? I thought you might have just been brushing your mic, but I thought you were gonna say something. Brushing the beard against the windscreen.
I just wanted to say something about the updating. It's very interesting because we are often told. In fact, recently I was told this in maybe the Super Friends Facebook group that I don't know why the hell I joined it, because people are like, "Hey, look at Henry Cavill, he's great."
I got rid of that one quickly.
Oh, Jesus, God help us, please, Lord. Yeah. People will accuse me of you just want more of your Chris Reeve. No, I've talked about it frequently. I bought the action figures, this is serious. This is a little preview for something that's hopefully going to happen soon. I want to take the Hobo of Steel figures I bought before I saw the film. And I have a number of friends who hunt and also have skeet shooting devices, skeet clay shooters. And I want to go and shoot them with a shotgun. I also, to get the Christopher Reeve Superman action figure, at one point you had to order copies of Hobo of Steel, and I have them, and I want to shoot them too. But I digress. This is the thing. I was very excited to see this film, Hobo of Steel. I was actually embracing and hoping for what Superman the movie did then for a new movie to do now, to introduce a new generation to iconic Superman. That's what we wanted for Star Wars. That's what happened with Clone Wars, the original seasons. Mm-hmm. It introduced people. There's people now, younger people, saying that was my introduction to Star Wars, and it's a great one. Prior to this Disney version, it was a great one because that, in many ways, I know we have differing opinions, all of us, on probably the prequels, but a lot of that was more in the spirit of the original trilogy than was the prequel trilogy, despite being set during the prequel trilogy. We want something that can be made new and fresh. That's a word that's used often, that introduces the iconic characters to a new audience, but does not have to change the characters to suit the studio or the filmmakers or an agenda. It's that simple. And so you can take the trunks off the Superman suit. Don't really care for that myself, but it's possible to still have Superman without the trunks. You can even get rid of the, I would say not the secret identity, but you can get rid of Lois not knowing there's a difference between Clark and Superman. You can get rid of that and still have iconic Superman. But they refused because they didn't want to do iconic Superman, just like they didn't want. And look, we've heard Rian Johnson in the last, month and a half, admit he didn't care about Star Wars. He wanted to just do a movie. It could have probably been Star Trek, or it could have been a DC or Marvel film. He just wanted to come in and do what he wanted to do, the story based on what he saw. And so he didn't care who Luke Skywalker was.
All he cared about was staying in the spotlight. He came back just yesterday talking about how excited he is about Taika Waititi. That's another reason not to be excited about Taika Waititi.
Well, he's going to come in, and that's part of his ego too, is now he's going to support anybody that the fans are going to begin to go, no, we're not too excited about you. And it's really simple. That's the one of the great tragedies. I think we feel it for the comics as well. It's so easy to get right. But that's the thing we're battling, is these are people behind the scenes who don't want to get it right because they don't care about us anymore. And it can be disheartening. But I think we have to continue to do these kinds of shows, talk about these topics, to let people know, hey, we aren't going to just let this happen. But at the same time, I don't think any of the people, I don't even think, somebody in charge at Disney really fully gets it. They don't, they just do think, they see us as, ironically, they see us as the people not paying the most, when we are the ones. Look at comic books. You didn't just happen upon comic books. Many of us in my generation, we didn't just happen upon them. Somebody in our family loved them, and then we picked up on that love. Same really with me for Star Wars and many films my brother liked, and there's a generational aspect to that, and there's a communal aspect to that. And when you piss on part of that, Sorry if that demonetizes you, but you got a good money now already, Professor.
Yeah.
When you come in and you alienate one aspect of this whole that can really give you a lot of money and support, you're really doing yourself a disservice in the long run. Maybe in the short term, it seems great, new, fresh. It's on everybody's lips and social media, but it's going to not have the lasting power of imagine if Star Wars, these sequel trilogy, and I will say this before I let we go on to another topic or aspect of the topic. I don't care what people say. I guarantee you, George Lucas's Star Wars sequel trilogy would have outperformed Disney's, if only because that first film, first of all, would have had the Force Awakens power of it's the first sequel in this many years, but Lucas would not have done something so blatantly not about Star Wars. And those people who loved the characters would have come, and they would have had their children and their friends, whomever, fall in love with it, and we would have seen a very different story. So it can be done. It's just not what they want to do. And then oh God, is that CBR? I'm gonna vomit on my screen. That is CBR. I think I saw that today. Screw you, CBR.
Before you get too far into that, Professor, I did want to say on a related note, there was an article where someone was talking about I guess the science behind Star Wars is that Palpatine is also Rey's grandmother because it's cloning. And I said, yeah, Palpatine is her grandmother, her grandfather, and her father. That family tree does not fork, and Skywalker is nowhere in it.
That was the rise of Palpatine. Yeah. Skywalker. They were desperately trying, and then that pisses me off too when I kept hearing them say, "We're gonna wrap up the Skywalker saga with this movie." I said before, you have the audacity to do anything to the Skywalker saga. You haven't done anything. You haven't successfully, respectfully treated it with your movies to begin with. That's ridiculous. Right. So first of all, it was never about Skywalker. Stop pretending it is now. Second of all, you don't have the right to wrap up any of this because you don't know what you're doing. This is another fun little piece from.
Hey, can I ask you a question before you go into this? Mm-hmm. Do you, just curious, all of us here, do you guys think that the original intent that Abrams had, and let's say even Lucas, do you think that Kira, who became Rey, do you think she was going to be Luke's daughter?
I don't know. I think maybe probably was, but I know even if it was, I know that's why they couldn't handle that, because you can't she needs to be all amazing on her own. That was why Rian Johnson wanted her to be, her parents are nobody. She's amazing because she's just amazing because she has a vagina, folks. Applaud. I mean,
and look, let's not an impressive one being on a desert planet all those years. Let's just say it's, all right. I'm sorry.
Al, you're lagging tonight. Troy and Fan Man are picking up for you.
Well, sometimes, like I said, sometimes there's a wall and just can't break through. But no, well, I don't. Daisy Ridley, I'd applaud that vagina any day.
Oh my gosh.
And it wouldn't matter how sandy it is.
That wasn't an invitation to make it weirder, Al.
Well, you opened up the floodgates and you asked the Al to play.
Do we think she has? Anyway,
here we go. This ranking of Star Wars movies, which, as Sound Engraver said, there are 6.
Dead on the slab. That's all I'm going to say.
Phantom Menace is number 11. I think it gets a lot of hate it doesn't deserve, but okay.
I can agree with that.
Phantom Menace as well. No, you do, because you don't have taste in these things. Phantom Menace as worse than Solo, the Star Wars story. Hell to the no. Number 9, Rise of Skywalker. Okay, so they put that down at least toward the endish, but Phantom Menace, I'd watch it 1,000 times over before I watched Rise of Skywalker. Yeah. Attack of the Clones. Not a lot of people like that one, Revenge of the Sith is 7. Just like it gets worse here. Return of the Jedi is at 6. If that's not in the top 3, then I don't even, what are you even talking about? That's number 6.
If the original 3 are your 1, 2, and 3 in some order,
exactly. We can agree on that.
Did you see my tweet response to this guy?
No.
Okay. Well, I don't know how to. I can't show that probably. But
Click on share screen, or is it too far down in your share me the tweet on a messenger and I'll pull it up. Number 5 is Rogue One.
Rogue One was a good film.
Force Awakens is supposedly better than Return of the Jedi.
It wasn't below Force Awakens, though.
Now, Force Awakens I still hold a good film.
The Last Jedi as the
Last
third
Jedi even
best
being
Star Wars
on this
movie.
list.
Now, as much as I will say, now that is insanity presented.
Yeah.
I mean, the insanity to me is that these movies are included. It's 6 movies, not 9. But A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, of course, they're not going to.
I shot that to
Rock
you there.
that
If you want to put it up there.
I would. I would.
it here.
Of course, if anybody wants to go to my site, I actually did. I did my list on my site, and I can't remember 100% what it is, but I know Phantom Menace was last, and Last Jedi, I believe, was second to last.
One thing I do want to say about the prequels, going back to that article that you were talking about with Clone Wars too, I think my biggest problem with the prequels always was never that I felt it broke canon in any way. If anything, I felt there was a lot of stuff that wasn't there that I wanted to see. I felt that because I had, Lucas had talked so much about his prequel treatment over the years, all the way back to the 70s. I mean, as a kid reading the Bantha Tracks, pamphlets that I got from the fan club, he would talk about, the Sith and the battle on the volcano and all of this stuff. All of that is old stuff that the fans knew about back in 78, 79. But when it finally came about, it's like, you kind of rushed this, and there's a lot of story missing here. And there's that little kernel towards the end, just before he chokes out Padme, where he gets jealous of Obi-Wan. And it was like, well, where did that come from? You had the opportunity over 3 movies to build up an Arthur, Lancelot, Guinevere, triangle, and you never did, So I think it was missed opportunities. Now, none of those were really addressed in the Clone Wars, but I do see Clone Wars as an attempt to fill in some of the missing things that we wanted to see.
I think the problem was that Lucas started I actually wanted to see less, because I feel like, and still struggle with my, what I would do just for fun, but I feel like he started way too early. I wanted to see Anakin and Obi-Wan at the stage that we hear old Obi-Wan very fondly recalling when he's telling Luke about his father. That's why I'd just start there, where they're friends and they're already Jedi.
It's funny you say that. You're right. I agree with you 100% now that you explain that. It was funny because in one of the last episodes, Nanette made some joke basically based on something Obi-Wan says in Clone Wars about never letting him fly because he crashes the ship every time. Mm-hmm. And she's like, why do they ever let Anakin fly? He always crashes the ship. And I'm like, he was a great pilot and a good friend.
Yeah.
I don't see either of those things.
Right.
Well, he was a great pilot. He just had issues with the landing.
Oh, is that part of flying is keeping it off the ground?
That's one thing that Clone Wars did really well, is really truly show the camaraderie between Obi-Wan and Anakin.
Yeah.
And it's like, now I really get that they were friends, and man, they were brothers.
And you don't get that from the movies.
No, it's such a jump between 2 and 3. Yeah.
I will say that I can 100% completely agree. If you had to rethink the prequel trilogy, if you had to go back and really reconfigure from the ground up, I think the years during the Clone Wars would have been the way to go.
Yeah.
I don't think we needed to see the little pod racer, and I don't even think you really needed to see the little angsty teen who fell in love with a girl who's really much too old for him.
Well,
But
I'm going to defend that a little bit. We did need a little of that. We did need there to be that romance.
But I mean, no, you'd still have to have the romance. Yeah.
Yeah, but it needed to be a good romance, is what it needed.
I'm saying I will never ever get over the creepiness of little Anakin and Padme in the first movie. It's creepy as hell.
That's creepy. And if Al's saying it, you know it's bad.
And I think if they had started off with basically Obi-Wan and his Padawan Anakin coming to Naboo to help, and then they meet Padme.
I agree.
That's where it should have started. The first film is 100% completely unnecessary. The only cool thing in the entire first movie, when you get down to it, was the Duel of Fates, the fight between Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon, and Maul.
You know what I would say is it's interesting because Lucas, we could go down a rabbit hole here, but Lucas originally.
Hey, real quick, I've run out of Diet Dr. Pepper, so I'm going to go grab more. Nanette, I put you in charge of these chuckleheads. If it gets too weird, you can step in and crack a whip. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Go ahead, man.
Lucas originally, Qui-Gon was the Padawan, and Obi-Wan was going to be older, and he was going to be played by Kenneth Branagh. Remember, that was a plan for a while. And I like that idea. And I'll tell you another idea I like is when they get to Naboo, this was not, Tatooine, this was not a Lucas idea, but it's a me idea. You know, people have often said for years now, the prequel trilogy needed a Han Solo. Well, if you're going to show Anakin pre-Jedi, then you need to make him, and you couldn't do this at 10 or however old he was.
Yeah.
So when they first, and I even wrote out the sequence, when they are on Naboo and they're leave the ship to go get the engine, or whatever, they're attacked by sand people, and this guy flies in who's masked, and he's about 15 years old. They find out after he takes off the mask, and he is able, with a certain call, he's able to scare off the sand people. Yeah. Where do you think Obi-Wan learned it? Takes off the mask. It's 15-year-old long-haired Anakin, who is, just full of piss and vinegar and all that kind of stuff. And he's this lovable rogue who is a year older than Padme, who was 14. And that's where you start if you have to show him. And he can still be, a slave. He can still love his mom and not want to leave her. There can still be that separation anxiety and fear. Yeah. But if we had a likable teenaged character plus better writing and directing, as much as I love Lucas, I think a lot of the ideas weren't the problem, was the execution. But that said, I also have often felt, and I've seen fan edits that do this, where they find a way to fan edit everything out except for making parts of 2 and 3 one movie. Yeah. And I think you could have just done one movie as a prequel. And it might seem like, well, how do you put all that in there? Well, you just show the fall of the Empire. And I think everything else is kind of built in. But if you're going to do a trilogy, I don't think you go that far back. I don't think you introduce Qui-Gon, although I think I know why Lucas did, because bigger ideas he was going for. But if you are just trying to fill in the blanks, so to speak, then you don't need Qui-Gon. You make him the Padawan who dies, and that's why Obi-Wan has to train Anakin. And Anakin's 15 or so, and he's hit puberty for sure, for God's sake, and he's likable, and he's a rogue, and you echo. That's what Lucas was all about, echoing, kind of like a tone poem. So you echo the relationship with Han and Leia in Anakin and Padme, and then you can throw in if you want to make it a triangle of sorts, and there's your Obi-Wan, and that was an opportunity. But Lucas, again, had this mentality, I'm not listening to anybody else. You have to think somebody like Lawrence Kasdan would have come in, or anybody else would have come in and said, hey, no, don't start here. But he was of the mindset, well, I know best. And I respect him because it's his creation on one hand. But as the professors pointed out, it had long ago ceased to be only his creation. And so he was really beholden to other people to come up with a story that was respectful of what, not even expectations, but of what the mythology demanded. And it demanded something more than, well, this was what I was holding on to since 76. No, what now you need to do something that honors what people, what you've created already. You have to really fill in. And that's, again, I'll say this, that's assuming you even agree, and I'm not sure I even agree. Looking back 21 years now, I'm not even sure I agree we needed to see that. I was perfectly fine with what was up here, watching those movies over and over and over again. The story I had here was honestly far better, and some of the hints here and there,
usually is, yeah.
far better than what Lucas did. And that's not even to smash him necessarily. I think it's for many prequels. You know, I mean, look at Enterprise.
So to build on that, though, I would say that if you did trim off that first movie, I think what you needed was more of what we got in the Clone Wars to fill out a trilogy. I love what Owen Lister said about the prequel being like a Greek tragedy, the fall of a hero to becoming a villain. And that's what you wanted to focus on. I think we also got distracted by multiple villains. Darth Maul gets killed off in the first movie, and we have Grievous, and we have Sidious, and we have who's the robot with the 4 arms that I keep forgetting?
Grievous.
That's Grievous.
Oh, that is Grievous. Yeah,
Tyrannus. You're thinking of.
And then, and then Tyrannus. Yeah, Dooku. It's just simplify that, okay, and show you can start playing with that whole balance idea.
And the whole freaking Trade Federation thing, which was awful.
Yeah.
It was so complicated that it required, I'm 4 seasons into Clone Wars to really get my head wrapped around it. And I'm going, and it made me think of something the professor has said many times, and I've seen a lot of other commentators talking too about Star Wars. If I've got to go to a book and a comic book and some other extraneous thing to understand the story, there's a storytelling problem there. You didn't get it up on the screen. And so all the things that I am saying positive about Clone Wars, especially in relationship to the prequels, applies there too. I shouldn't have needed Clone Wars in order to appreciate the prequels as well as I do. So that kind of brings it back to that first article you were sharing, Professor.
Even though they're prequels, they don't really work unless you've seen the original trilogy. I can't imagine how people just watch the prequels and then move right in. Maybe that's the problem with today's.
You should never do that.
Maybe that's one of the reasons why people have such a skewed vision of Star Wars today. But, this is just something we've kind of been talking around. It's just kind of been part of the conversation as you guys are making other points. But what I really just find so fascinating about Star Wars is how that creation of that universe and the way it was executed originally in that original trilogy just stuck in the hearts of minds of people for so long before the EU even started. People just couldn't get enough. They wouldn't let it die. Then when the EU finally, became a thing, and even before that, it was the comic books and things like you were saying, Troy. But once the EU finally became a systemized, continuity, and Lucasfilm's pretty much accepted as a continuity. They try and pretend now they never did, and blah blah blah. But they kicked it to the curb quite handily, just because of the new bosses came in. But I mean, it's still out there. It's still out there for you to discover. And I guess that's one of the reasons why I'm just kind of obsessed with it right now, because that's the thing that kind of obsesses me anyway, is mythology. And when a mythology really takes hold of a culture. And that's one of the things why I'm so upset about what Disney's doing to it now, and what this new agenda driven thing is doing to it in our culture. Because I mentioned before, okay, Luke Skywalker is Superman in terms of culturally permeating aspirational characters from the 20th century. Can you guys think of any more? And I mean, like, you don't have to have watched the movie or anything. You can just ask a person on the street, Luke Skywalker, what is he? He's a hero, good guy or whatever. Superman. Oh, he saves people, does the right thing. There are not a lot of characters that are just so, in the cultural mindset like that. And Superman, young people growing up today, he's just emo Hamlet. They don't know anything better unless they happen to watch some pocket little, niche thing, or happen to be Superman fans of older movies or whatever. They're destroying him in the popular consciousness. Luke Skywalker, he's the old hermit guy who tried to kill his nephew. That's who he is now to people. And, the next, talking about handing it down to the next generation. But
you're talking about aspirational heroes. You could have said that about Batman until the Dark Knight Returns thing.
True, yeah.
He was an aspirational, especially during the Adam West series. That's as aspirational a character as you're going to get.
True. That's true, and that is the Batman that I grew up with.
Mm-hmm.
Agent Boomer would like to talk a little bit.
Don't forget your seat belts, Robin. You know that. I mean,
Yeah.
come on. How much more
Wait,
are you gonna
Robin,
get?
you must always look both ways before crossing the street. Agent Boomer wants us to talk about reminding us about the female-led Star Wars Leslie Headland. I mean, yeah. What else do we have to say about that?
Well,
the
I actually
ridiculousness
had
nature?
a whole bunch of notes about it and like 3 or 4 different articles, but as it was going, I was realizing it's just put up a picture of a dumpster fire. I mean, that really
Yeah.
sums it all up. You know, a picture's worth 1,000 words. It's I've seen articles. There is a civil war going on at Disney right now. It was very underhanded the way Kennedy brought her in, but looks like she succeeded because they went ahead and officially announced it over yesterday, over May the 4th. And so it's done. It's going to happen now. It's been officially, well, okay, I take that. Let me walk that back slightly. It has now been given an official announcement by Disney. It's not just, something that was leaked. It is now firmly in Disney's hands, and they have to deal with it. Whether or not it actually happens, I don't know.
As long as it is a behind-the-scenes look at Jabba's slave girls, and you can have all the female-led, aspect
I heard
of that
you
show
talking
want.
about that on your stream about it was like Jabba's Angels, like Charlie's Angels.
Jabba's Angels, yeah. I'm gonna do me Ubi Angels. Hi, Jabba.
Yeah, it's funny. That was actually quite perfect.
That's awesome.
It's funny you say that because there's a lot of talk in the Star Wars toy collecting community. Because you saw last year they put out the 6 vintage re-release of the original 6 Star Wars figures. I'm not even going to get into the Hasbro cluster frack about that and the distribution and how they went out. Same thing is happening all over again with the Empire Strikes Back 6 vintage figures that no one is ever going to see unless they spend $50 per figure on the secondary market. But they're talking already about what is going to be the figures in the Return of the Jedi line, presumably next year. And whenever a fan would say, "Oh, maybe Slave Leia," no, it's not going to happen. Disney has already said there will no longer be any merchandise related to the prisoner Leia.
I still remember
Slave Leia anymore.
That idiot dad pitching a fit about it in Walmart is why that got pulled. I'll never forget that. Just another one of that self-entitled, the world's not the way I want it. It needs to be this way for everybody. Don't buy it for your daughter then, dude. I mean, if anything, that if you look at the character the way it was portrayed, that should be a huge symbol of strength.
Hugely empowering. Who's the one that killed Jabba?
Exactly.
And she used her own chain to do it.
Exactly. Yep.
That's hugely symbolic. That's important. It's necessary. That's why we teach our children history.
It plays into the male gaze, and it makes me uncomfortable.
Well, it made me a little uncomfortable, too, when I was wearing tight jeans. So I can totally understand that.
That's why I went to that movie with sweatpants.
Oh, God!
Lord. Dear Lord. Hey, I gotta go.
He always has to, no matter how bad what I say is, he finds a way to take the blame off me. Thank you for that, Al.
Al's here to plus ultra.
That is what I live for.
What are you gonna say, Fam Man?
I just want to point something out because I'm known. Some people are like, that guy's negative. Before I go, I just want to say this. It occurred to me. We've had a preview week or weekend, I suppose it was, of Epix. Anybody familiar with the channel Epix?
I heard of it.
It's a movie channel, and they play. It's mostly crap, but for whatever reason,
epic crap is what you're saying.
Pretty much every other film is like, oh, hey, we just have the rights to this. It's garbage. But you know what they've been playing? And I heard the sound effects from upstairs where I am now, and I flew down those stairs almost literally to watch it. A movie I have on DVD and love and have seen hundreds of times. They have the original series Star Trek films, and I am just happy to say this: Jean-Luc Picard, Star Trek: The Next Generation, tainted, but James T. Kirk, even though he went out like a bitch There's no one's touched him yet, and I'm not counting the the Abrams stuff.
Yeah,
Even as
yeah.
bad as that was, we're talking about a different level. I feel like the Star Trek original series stuff is, thank God, it's untainted, and they'll hopefully leave it alone and never go back to that well. And I was just thinking of that today. I was like, hey, that's a good thing. That's something that I can focus on. That's positive. So there you go.
Yep, very good.
Completely. Is it unrelated? Yes. But is it also related? Yes.
I do have. I'll just show you guys because I know you guys give me a hard time about we're speaking Star Wars. He doesn't. You know what? I do. I was showing you guys my Next Generation figures that I'm getting rid of, but I do have my trilogy here, my Trinity rather, of
I have those figures too. They're awesome. Yeah.
Original series. I got their blasters and their tricorders and all that.
Art Asylum.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, those are the Art Asylum figures.
Yeah.
Those aren't the Playmates figures. Yeah.
Yeah, nice articulation.
Those are very, very good sculpts. Art Asylum did much, much better figures than Playmates did. In fact, Nanette collected all of the Enterprise figures, including the from Art Asylum, including all of the deluxes that came with the pieces of the bridge. Problem is, they never put out a Mayweather, so I'm working on getting one 3D printed for her.
Yeah, I've only got Archer and the bridge piece, and then I don't have. I think I have T'Pol. I never got the whole crew because of distribution. Oh, the professor I think he had just heard he had a small aneurysm there. He's like,
oh, no. We're talking Star Trek.
What?
Right?
I'm sorry, I was reading a comment. Oh,
of course you tune out because we're talking Star Trek here. You brought it up though, Professor.
I did.
I have the NX at the NX-01 Enterprise somewhere, like the large, like the foot long toy.
I'll never forget. I just don't see the difference in a lot of ships like that. I mean, I can see a difference like an X-wing and a Y-wing or something, sure, but I don't like when it comes to the Enterprise. It's the Enterprise. I did it again. So I was at a con. I think I told the story before. And I was trying to bring back a little care package for my buddy Al, who wasn't able to get there, and everything. So I
see where this is going.
I buy him a replica, a little like Matchbox collector set of the Enterprise. Al loves the Enterprise. He's always talking. He's gonna love this. I'm so excited. I pay for it and put it in the little package, and I give it to him.
And I
sent it to him, and I'm like, "Did you get the Enterprise?" Like, yeah. Well, it's the Enterprise. What do you mean? Yeah. Well, it's the one from the new movies. It's not the one from the.
Yeah, it's the JJ prize. But
sorry.
I still appreciate you.
I'm playing it up. You were great.
But I still like the movie. It was
how
still
could you
okay.
not see?
I didn't want to slip my wrists.
See, Al, how is it possible he didn't see the difference? I'm wow. You need well,
it's the Enterprise. The Enterprise is the Enterprise. As long as it doesn't look like a Klingon warbird, then it's the Enterprise.
No, it isn't.
Klingon warbirds don't look like Klingon warbirds anymore.
It's like comparing Charlize Theron and Dolly Parton. There are differences to each model.
And the one in the JJ films looked like somebody said, hey, look, this design that looks great. We have to make it look different because of rights. Let's just make it ugly. And there you go. Oh, it's horrible. It's terrible.
And we're either making the ship hugely larger or making the shuttle bay so small you can't get your toe in it.
I'm being geek shamed in the comments now.
As well you should be, sir. Hey, I'm gonna run. This will be I'm gonna beam out here, but it's been good, guys.
We're gonna wrap up anyway. Do you want to shout anything about your channel or what's coming up with you or anything?
Well, I don't know. This Friday night is I do have this video, a two-parter, for those who don't like long videos, on Taika Waititi. God bless you. Thank you. And Zoom tight. And I have those videos. I also will likely have a video on a mask purchase I made recently. I don't want to spoil what it is. And then I will let everybody know about Friday night. My wife's going out of town, and I'm going to have to pick her up Friday. So I don't know if I can do Fan Man tonight. But if we do Fan Man tonight, and depending on the professor, we may begin a DCAU. I should say Timverse to differentiate. Rewatch that includes really 4 films. So it'll include Mask of the Phantasm, The Last Son of Krypton, which is the first 3 episodes of Superman the Animated Series, and then World's Finest, which was 3 episodes of I guess New Batman Adventures, and then Justice League Secret Origin, was it called? Which is the first 3 episodes of the original Justice League series. So we're looking to start that maybe. It just kind of depends. If not, we'll do a Fan Man tonight live, and we'll talk about topics and such. So that's pretty much all I got coming out there. Yeah.
Cool. I think I have half of those.
Yeah, I'll hook you up with what you don't have there, Al.
That's good.
Cool dealio.
All right. Well, thanks for hanging out with us, Fan Man. Appreciate it. Good to have you along.
And stay safe out there, and wash your hands, because apparently it's not a hoax. That's what I've heard. I've heard it's not a hoax. It's real. I don't know. I don't know if that's true, but be careful.
It better be real.
Yeah. I don't know.
Watch out for the murder wasps.
Bye-bye.
Take care, Fan Man.
Did you guys want to we start wrapping up? Did you guys have any other points or any other things you wanted to talk about before we get to the shout outs and stuff?
Real quick.
Yeah.
This kind of is a good end capper for the topic. The fans are not really having it from Disney. As much as we, are grousing and angry and, kind of quibbling about, like I was talking about, buying the vintage figures is still supporting Disney and so forth. I don't like to be this negative, but there is a certain schadenfreude that comes when you see Disney try to do something in marketing and it blows up in their face.
Oh, the May the 4th thing.
The May the 4th thing was just, oh my gosh. And what I did in preparation for tonight, I wanted to speak to that a little bit. So I noticed that a lot of people, when I was talking about it on Sound Engraver's channel, didn't know what I was talking about. Disney had kind of co-opted the hashtag May the 4th and said, celebrate the saga. Reply with your favorite hashtag Star Wars memory, and you may see it somewhere special on hashtag May the 4th. Then, in answer to that or response to that, by sharing your message with us using hashtag May the 4th, you agree to our use of the message and your account name in all media and our terms of service, terms of use here, and then it gives you a link.
We own your soul.
Exactly. That's how, when you click on it and read it, it really comes out that way. And people just responded, replying to @Disney. Disney does not own hashtags. I do not consent. Hashtag May the 4th. And then there's a lot of them that are like, do you understand how reality works? And then saying, well, if you can do that, then by using my hashtag or by using my comment, you agreed to give me, 2% of your profits in perpetuity.
Yeah.
Thank you for agreeing, But the one that, now I'm going to say this up front, some people may feel very triggered by this, but if you are, it should put a good point on how serious this comment is. This person said, replying to Disney @Disney Plus, my second favorite hashtag Star Wars memory is going to cinema with my father to watch movies 1 through 7 and Rogue One. Then I think how glad I am that he died of cancer before he got to watch @Ryan Johnson and @Kathleen Kennedy destroy the franchise.
Whoa.
Right?
Dang.
I read that and I'm like, those are the kind of comments out there? Ho. But
spin that, Disney.
Exactly. And that is out there they could even erase that comment. They can block that person, and they're blocking people left and right.
Oh, sure.
But that is out there in an article being shared around by people. I've just shared it on the stream, so all 74 people who need to hit the thumbs up, please, if you're enjoying this show, have heard it, and that's out there for people to think about.
Let us not forget, Disney is not the only enemy. If you happen to be,
you're right.
If you happen to be enjoying, May the 4th be with you, and having a little promotion. If you're a little cantina and you have a girl dressed up as a stormtrooper in Canada,
right?
Man, that is insane.
That is
and
now. It's
and
hard
you
to blame
literally
Disney
bring
for that,
in
but
how many police cars
Yeah.
because this girl in a stormtrooper outfit as a toy gun,
Mhm.
like waving at people to promote that this place is having
Yeah,
a
yeah.
May the 4th event.
Yeah.
And they literally cuff her, put her on the ground, bloody up her nose.
Mhm.
Yeah. She's
I
in
mean,
that helmet crying, and it's like,
how asinine
yeah.
do those cops have to be?
And
Didn't
you
one
know
of-
me, I do the cosplay thing. I go around with weapons and stuff, but I'll tell you something. Our group knows there are some places where you leave the phaser behind and you take the tricorder. You know, it's just you know your stuff. But we also have to talk about limits. You're a police officer. Yes, you need to be careful. Yes, maybe you need to, you know, put your hand on your gun and say, put the weapon down, you know. Once it's done and secure, then you sit her down and you talk to her. You don't slam her on the ground and break her arm and, you know, whatever.
Mhm.
They didn't break her arm. I'm exaggerating for effect.
The only thing that the only thing that what it sounded like that she did wrong was that she didn't do what you said. Put the gun down.
Yeah.
Just listen to what the guy's saying. Do what he's saying.
Yeah.
And you know, don't talk back because that'll get you nowhere.
I'll have to look into the. I haven't watched. I've seen the videos around, but I haven't watched them. I mean, yeah, from what you guys say, it could go a couple different ways. But yeah, it does seem like it was overkill, no matter what. But
yeah, it was,
and it's bad optics, and although this does not directly have anything to do with anything Disney did. It's sure not something Disney's happy about seeing right now.
Sure,
they've got enough of their own problems that they've made.
I do like the guy who's taking the video. I like his commentary. It's like, what are these cops doing?
Yeah.
It's a woman in a stormtrooper. What the hell? It was. It's like, did any of them not see? You know, someone should have said, "Hey, come on! It's a Star Wars thing. This is the Galaxy the cantina even had like it was like the Galaxy Cantina or something like that. It was like, it was dumb.
Yeah, and you know, all it took was for one intelligent police officer to cut through it and say, starting out with, "Hey, aren't you a little short to be a stormtrooper?" Then, you know, we got a problem. Can I see that sidearm? You secure it. You make sure it's safe. You go, okay, this is obviously a prop, but you need to take it inside or you need to whatever. That's how you look. Nanette and I do security or did security for conventions when there were conventions, you know, so we know how you deal with these circumstances. Just a little bit of common sense. But unfortunately, I don't want to get off topic because again, this has nothing to do with you know, serve and protect. This has to do with power.
Crizzy Kitty, my favorite little malcontent on my channel, has called me out for I've been really bad about providing channel member only content. I don't know how much better I'm going to get about it, but yeah, I do need to do something like that. Well, actually, I thought about this the other day, so I'm glad you reminded me. I'm dropping in the chat my email. It's in the description below too, but it should be there in the email as well. Ethan Van Sciver did something like this over his channel members, where every channel member, he said, just email him your address, and he sent them all a free like card from his comic or whatever. So I've got some goodies. I've got some doubles of comics and some things and that I've been acquiring or whatever for giveaways and whatnot. So if everybody's a channel member, because I have been very behind on providing channel content, if you want to shoot me your even if I already have your address for some reason, shoot it to me again, just so I have it all in one place, to that email there in the comments or in the description below, and I will send out some freebies and some goodies for my channel members for being such faithful supporters. I much appreciate it. I've got a lot of these video DVD rewatches that Troy sends me, so some of those might be some good incentives too. I've got a bunch of them stacked up here, so the extras and whatnot. So
Casey Scott, thank you. He dropped a link for your Indiegogo. I'm assuming that the store is still up and going.
Oh yes, thank you. The special collections. Crazy Key's also here to hold my feet to the fire about not calling crowd at the beginning of the stream. I do try to call people out as I see them. I apologize for not calling you out, Crazy Kitty. How about now? Crazy Kitty is one of the coolest people on my channel. She has been a supporter of us for I don't know how long. She busts up in here with all of her delightful feistiness and calling us out about this and that. But she is awesome. Sometimes she can't be with us because of health issues and whatnot. But we love her. We love our Crizzy Kitty. She's all the way back from Facebook days on the iconic pages. So you're awesome, Crizzy. How's that? Does that make up a little bit?
Give them hell, Crizzy Kitty.
But I do have to say, DRY Designs, I'm sorry, I cannot agree with you. Yes, Canada just had a shooting, but you know what? Shootings happen. That doesn't give any police officer the excuse to behave beyond what they should in a circumstance.
Yeah, I need to watch the video because I know they have to take all precautions and whatnot. But
yes, they do.
Overkill is overkill too. So
Yeah.
I just haven't watched it. Yeah, so
yeah.
Fred Lace is the prof owes Crizzy Kitty a super chat. I will make sure that Crizzy Kitty and everybody who sends me their postal addresses. I'll be out to the post office this week. Actually, yeah, I've got some goodies that I'll be sending you guys. So appreciate that. Thanks for the heads up. So yeah, did you any other things you wanted to bring up, Al, or you brought up the Clone Wars thing? The Stormtrooper thing.
No, it's been a light week, for the most part.
Everything because of the movies not coming
the
out.
World is just kind of at a halt right now.
Yeah.
What they say, New Mutants is going straight to on demand.
That's hardly a surprise, though. That was
if anybody was actually interested in that movie.
Yeah, and there are fans, and there were and for a while there was actually scuttlebutt from the fans of the X-Men series saying, I don't think we're even going to get this thing. I think Disney's just going to quash it.
Yeah, I thought that too, actually.
So the fact that they're even getting it is actually, from their point of view, a good thing. The fact that it's being released this way should come as no surprise to anybody because, again, lucky it's even getting out there.
Yeah, there are movies out there that I have never seen that I don't think ever got a release. The one that was called 5/25/77. It was like a film done by. It was around the time that Star Wars came out. Starring the guy who was he was on Bones, played Sweets on Bones for those.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing the previews for that.
Yeah,
I actually wanted to see that. Yeah.
That film never. I don't think that film ever came out. And if it did, I sure as hell missed it.
Yeah, that did look really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll be honest too. Nanette and I are kind of fans of his from Criminal Minds, but no, wait, was it Criminal Minds or Bones?
Bones.
Sorry, yeah, Sweets. From Bones. But some of the things he said have been kind of encouraging, in this, when you compare what directors and writers and producers and the way they treat the fans, just not being a jerk can actually sound very positive these days.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I'm feeling about him until he decides to go down that rabbit hole himself. But who knows?
Muhammad's bringing up the Last of Us 2, the sequel, the nonsense that's going on right there. I haven't spoken about it yet because I was never a big fan of that game. I never played it at all, really. I don't hate it or anything. I just never got into it. And I haven't. So because I haven't gotten into it, I haven't dug too deeply into the issue. But yeah, I've heard the shenanigans are there. Have you heard some about it, Troy?
I've kind of been following it. I didn't play the game, but I did. The funny thing is that because I don't play a lot of these console games that y'all have access to, with your newfangled, video consoles and whatnot. I am kind of like you, Professor, in that those kinds of games, I'm more interested in the story than I am in actually playing them. So I'll oftentimes watch people's playthroughs and stuff like that. So I kind of know the story, and I was really interested in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's been a lot of stuff going on over there at the company. What is it, Bad Dog or something like that?
Dog or Press or Bad Dog, something.
I don't know. Whatever the name of the company is, where they fired a whole bunch of people and put in somebody in charge who knows nothing about the game. And just decided, okay, let's go all woke with this, and make the main female protagonist a lesbian, because just why not, and let's horribly kill off the male protagonist that everybody liked, because that makes the female character that much better. And they're just hitting all the points and just destroying the story that everyone loved.
Naughty Dog, Mama says.
Naughty Dog, thank you. And someone at the company said, really? Okay. Took and leaked the entire storyline for the fans to just blow up about.
Yeah.
And now they're defecating in their underwear. Hey, I didn't swear.
Hey, that's true. I just gotta say how glorious it is to be playing the Old Republic right now. Actually, it's kind of dangerous because I was telling these guys separately, I think before, I just finished up my semester for my MA in theology. I just finished up my first semester this past Friday. It's an exam. That's why I had to cancel the Star Wars book study and everything, because exams and everything was just coming at me, and I finished it up. And I was going to take classes in the summer semester too, but I thought every university I've ever studied at or taught at or anything like that has always had some kind of break between spring and summer semester. So even it might just be a week, but something like that. Darn it, if I didn't get an email, and I should have checked the dates. I'm just, me and numbers, but I got an email Monday morning saying, welcome to the first day of the summer semester, from my professor. I'm like, oh man, I got a bunch of work to do now again, like no break whatsoever. But I signed up for it. And at least no more metaphysics. That's good. But at the same time as starting summer semester, I also discovered this amazing The Old Republic game, which I'm just having a blast with. So I'm trying to resist temptation and do my homework like a good boy and not just lose myself in the Old Republic and going around Coruscant. It's so amazing. It's so much fun. How dare
you let your schoolwork interfere in your gaming?
I know.
So
right?
As you go through Coruscant, are you like down in the bowels and checking out the girls with the poop on their head?
Yeah, right. Yeah, none of that nonsense. Okay. No, but you do. It's really fun. You go through Tython. Is where the Jedi Temple is at that point in the continuity, and that's just really great. A lot of great stuff. But speaking of Star Wars, though, so the next thing is Thursday night, our book study, the first 5 chapters of book 3 of the Thrawn trilogy, The Last Command. Need to bring my hardcover in here, but there's the paperback. So first 5 chapters of that, we'll bust into it. And I'm obsessed with Star Wars right now, like I said, for geek reasons and for academic reasons because of the mythology thing. But so I think we might end up doing another EU book. After this one, after we finish the Thrawn trilogy, I don't know. Scoundrels won out over what was the other one that I had?
Some journey thingy.
It was the back story of Drew Asabe, Outbound Flight. Yeah. Scoundrels won out over Outbound Flight. So we might do a like a bracket thing, because I'm also starting to read Kenobi, which is actually Kenobi's story as he's on Tatooine, kind of overlooking.
When did that come out?
It was towards the end. It was like 2013 or something. It was one of the last books, not the last book, but one of the last batch of books written that are still part of the EU before Disney rebooted continuity and stuff like that.
You realize you're setting yourself up for heartbreak when they decide to put out a Kenobi series or or whatever.
So I thought it'd be timely, for that reason too. So I might throw that in there, the bracket, and see if people like that against Scoundrels or whatever. I don't know. We'll see. But just things to think about, because that's coming. We still have a whole book to get through, so we're going to be on Last Command for a bit. And we will get to Dune, so some point, but yeah. All right, so that's Thursday. Then Fan Man said about Friday, maybe not, maybe, who knows? We won't even know until about 15 minutes beforehand.
Right.
But Saturday, nothing going on Saturday.
He's on Fan Man time.
Fan Man time, yeah.
Right.
Saturday's off. You can take a break on Saturday. No training.
No, this is a good movie.
I might even try to be there for that one.
You drew first blood, man. You drew first blood.
If I can, if work permits. But
Saturday night, 10 o'clock. We're gonna be watching Sylvester Stallone's First Blood.
Started, yeah, good stuff.
First Rambo movie.
Yep.
The original. And also, like I said, watching it because of the late great Brian Dennehy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Who is a great villain in this.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was one that could play a great villain, and he could also play a very sympathetic character too.
Yeah, and this character does. There is some.
Yeah,
I mean, you can see his point,
yeah.
but yeah, he is overall the bad guy, basically.
Yep.
And I didn't think much about it anymore, but that video on the Catholic Geek channel about Catholic Geek content or worship service and whatnot with all of us in Sound Engraver, there seems to be more interest in that than I thought there would be. So that didn't work out a couple times. Maybe we'll have to try and put that back on the calendar. That seems to be something that people don't want to forget about. So give them what they want. But is that so? Yeah, that's the weekend. Of course, Monday starts it all over again with Sound Engravers stream on Monday. So that was a lot of fun. If you missed that live stream, go back and check it out. She had her guest on talking about opera for the first part, and the second part she was just dropping a ton of amazing, really cool content about John Williams and what his score added to the original trilogy. And she even
I got to say about Sound Engraver, and I just dropped a link to her channel. Please subscribe because she's a friend of the channel, and her content. Sometimes if you don't have a training in music like I do, so I understand a lot of what she's talking about. Sometimes it might go over your head, but listen really closely because she sums up things about music that even though I understand what she's saying, she says it in a way I hadn't thought of before. Things that we all kind of know on an instinctual level, she puts into a head level.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of explains it, kind of the way what Professor Geek does with explaining stories, archetypes, and so forth. Things that we all understand on a subconscious level and an emotional level. He puts on a head level too. She does for music what he does for stories. Definitely check it out.
Definitely, I concur. Absolutely, and we'll try and get that Catholic Bible Geek stream on the calendar. Definitely, maybe this Sunday I'll check with you guys and see what you're good for. But all right, so that's the show tonight. Thanks for hanging out. I will definitely cut out some highlights, but this was a lot of fun for people just to listen to. Anyway, I didn't know what was going to happen. It's hard enough to wrangle us three. When Fan Man busted in, I was like, oh boy, we'll see what we get through tonight. Well, we got through it all. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
everybody.
It was good talk.
So yeah. So thanks for hanging out, and until next time. I'm not forgetting anything, am I? Nope.
No.
Okay, good. Right.
Nope, you got us all the way through the week and the plans and the things and the back to next Tuesday. And if we got anyone who hasn't thumbed us up, please give us a thumbs up. Encourage us.
Sounded so wrong.
Let's go ahead and end on that. All right. Thanks for hanging out. Until next time.
He had to say that, but hey, at least I didn't mention feet.
Not yet, till you just
did.
But
you did. But you did. Yet you still did. Thank you.
Keep enjoying and digging deeper into the hero stories you love.
Revenge of